Eric, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Gameros. District 1, Councilman Rios is excused. District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Here.
District 3, Councilman Leatham is excused. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley is excused. Mayor Gameros.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Eric. Chief, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Our Father in heaven, as we gather this evening, we would ask for thy blessings on our community, that those within it that are suffering at this time or maybe in need may find the relief they're looking for and may find comfort through thee. We are grateful for the things that thou hast blessed us with. We would pray that thou would bless our land with the rain that's needed to alleviate the drought that we're facing at this time. And we would also pray for these proceedings, that they may be conducted in a manner that is appropriate, and that those items that are discussed tonight may find a resolution that will be a benefit to the community and those who live within it. And we pray for all those who serve within our community to make it better, and do so in Jesus' name, amen.
Mariana, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with our summary of current events. Mike, we'll start with you down there. You got anything?
Mr. Mayor, not really. It's too hot to be outside, that's for darn sure. I did make the ribbon cutting for the new bank down there. Washington Federal.
Wayfed, yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty nice. The building's real nice. It's a pretty nice addition on that end of town. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Mike?
I actually don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mariano? You have anything?
Just two things, Mr. Mayor. I too attended the dedication ceremony this morning for Washington Federal, and it just means I can get to my dad's bank faster in the morning if I
There
need
you
to.
go.
So it's a good thing. Second thing, I went out on the county property to take a look at Kenny doing initial work in Pinal Creek, and I was pleased with what they were doing. They were very busy, so they're doing their job. I'm pleased to say that.
And where's that at?
Up the creek, county area, beyond the college.
Okay. Out in the Six-Shooter Canyon area, okay.
Thank you, sir.
I have a couple of things. I attended the award ceremony for the Arts Commission. It was Friday morning, and there was an award up, the ONOG Award, and Love Where You Live with Thea and Regina, who had that organization, was one of the four finalists. I think there was 29 original competitors, and they narrowed it down to 4. I had the honor of nominating Love Where You Live this year for this award, and we saw the last 4, the last 4 had presentations of what they did with their community, and there was a lot of competition, and you know, they deserved it. Love Where You Live won the award, of the state award, and really what this does, this recognizes organizations that demonstrate exceptional, innovative, collaborative partnership to advance arts and culture within their community, and they've done a lot of that, not only in the city of Globe, but in Miami and the county, I think extending even to Superior and stuff. So they deserve that award. I want to invite them for the next council meeting so they can talk a little more about what it was all about. This Friday, the 15th, 11 o'clock, they have a rededication of the memorial wall at the Historic Society. So if anybody is available, they'll have lunch, but they're going to have a rededication of that memorial wall that was built there. On the 20th is next Coffee with the Mayor. It'll be a week from tomorrow. And again, at Copper City's Coffee, if anybody wants to join myself and Vice Mayor Stapleton for coffee. That's all I have. Paul, you have anything?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, no, nothing for the council at this moment.
Okay, we have our first community call to the public. Again, this is a time when any citizen can speak to the council on any item that is not on the agenda. There is a 3-minute time frame, and at that time, council cannot respond to any comments made, but can direct staff to do some follow-up if needed. I do have one call card. I have O'Neill, Mr. O'Neill, or Stefan? Yes. Okay. If you want to come up here, state your name and your address.
My name's Stefan O'Neill. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the community. Again, my name's Stefan O'Neill. I'm the secretary for Arizona Spokes. We're a newly established local 501c3 nonprofit organization focused on outdoor recreation, trail stewardship, cycling advocacy, community engagement, and promoting healthy, active lifestyles in Globe, Miami area. I'm also joined tonight by our president, Ernie Baca, and our treasurer, Matthew Storms. First of all, I want to thank you for giving us time to speak today. And I talk about who we are. Arizona Spokes was created by local residents who care deeply about this community and believe our area has incredible potential for continued growth through outdoor recreation and community-driven initiatives. Our purpose tonight is simply to introduce ourselves, begin building relationships, and express our interest in becoming a positive and collaborative community partner moving forward. We believe Globe Miami already possesses one of the most important foundations for outdoor recreation success, a strong community identity and access to incredible natural surroundings that make this area unique. As we continue developing as an organization, Arizona Spokes intends to focus on initiatives that support outdoor recreation, community engagement, tourism, and healthy active lifestyles throughout the Globe Miami area. Our organization hopes to help identify opportunities that enhance quality of life for residents while also contributing to long-term recreational and economic vitality for our community. Tonight is simply about introducing who we are, expressing our commitment to this community, and beginning what we hope will become a strong and collaborative relationship with the city of Globe moving forward. Thank you again for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to introduce Arizona Spokes and look forward to future conversations with the city and the community.
Thank you. And Paul, can we get a contact information from him so we can, I'd like to set up a meeting with him to meet with their organization.
Somebody from our staff will
Okay.
make sure we get a contact.
You bet. Thank you. Any other call to the public on line or on email or?
Nothing in email and nothing on text message or this.
Okay, next, so we'll go to special presentations. Item 3A is Globe City Council will receive a project update from Tiffany Construction regarding the Pinal Creek sediment removal project. And we have Herb, Tiffany, and Mike Garrison. Okay.
Come on up and speak into the mic.
My name's Mike Garrison, General Superintendent with Tiffany Construction. Things are moving well as we're marching through the process. We are working with Civil Tech as they're wrapping up the last of the plans, the permitting through ADOT, and looking forward to starting progress on getting this community where water runs through it correctly again. So things are moving quickly. The permits are getting into place. We've been dealing with the railroad and everybody along the way. So we are pretty close to getting the phase 1 area up and ready to go.
Do you, questions or comments? Mike, go ahead.
So you haven't started any excavation or anything yet?
No, sir. Right now, they just got the next phase of getting all the elevations, the topography maps are in. So Mr. Dews is putting all that together. I imagine here the next week or two, we'll be seeing a 90% submittal in which we will turn into GMPs and be looking for board approval on those. And then that'll be where we can start getting ready to get into the channel.
Okay. Another question there?
Go ahead.
Where are you gonna start, or are you just gonna send the crews out?
There'll be multiple crews all over. So what we've talked to Mr. Paul about here last week is we will identify what is the worst areas where you have the biggest concerns, and at which point we will put our crews into those first, and we'll take each area as a level of importance. We are looking to have up to 200 bodies working in this valley once we get up and rolling in full motion, sir. So you'll have 4 or 5 separate crews. We'll be in the bottom of that. And again, pending upon what the need is and what we can get in there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you for coming tonight and
Yes, sir.
presenting. I appreciate that. How long do you think that'll take to complete the project? Do we know?
Our goal right now is still to get everything done by monsoon. So we're tracking to work as many hours as necessary to get us out of here by mid-July, at least in the phase one portion. As we get into phase two, the harder structures, I'm hoping to be able to start those and get part of those done, but we are uncertain if we're gonna be able to finish all those. But our goal is, again, to get you full capacity and conveyance by, we shoot for 4th of July, around that time frame before the rains is what our goal is. And again, we're committed to bring as many bodies as we need to, work as many days, as many hours as necessary.
I was gonna say, are you gonna be working in the evening as well as day, or
Yeah, so,
2 shifts maybe, or?
well, no, what we end up doing, the guys will work 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day. And then we'll spell the bodies out as we need to, give them a couple days off and roll fresh guys in at that point.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Go ahead, Mike.
So, one of the questions that's been asked of me is, what's gonna happen to all the dirt?
all the dirt right now is going up to the public works yard. So there's an area that we have cleared with, the NRCS, and all that material is heading up on the hill.
Okay, thank you.
So, and again, thank you, everybody. We're looking forward to working with you.
Hang on, you got.
I know our staff has been working closely alongside you. Is there anything else you require from our staff?
No, it's been a great community to work with. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing and the level that's being taken care of. So, great community.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And we know we're under a time frame, and you know, the history of it, 220 days. I think we're almost, what's the days? I guess, I know we're counting them by the days, what we have left.
September 16th.
September 15th.
7th.
A very expensive project, $24 million. A lot of stuff had to be done, put in place, right of entries,
Yes, sir.
engineering, cultural, environmental. I mean, it's just a lot of work just to get this location, but it's good to hear that we'll hopefully see that project completed before the monsoon would hit us.
Yes, sir.
again.
And we will give it our very best, and you guys are in a good set of hands for taking care of this stuff. We've been doing flood control projects now for 15 years, specializing in helping the community. So you got the right team with you, and it's nice to be teaming up with you folks. I think we're gonna be very successful in this.
Now, is your team also teaming up with the county or Miami, or are you just working specifically in the 3 miles of Globe?
Well, right now I got Gila County that we're working with. Gila County and the town of Miami will be on board here in a couple of weeks. So that's where I'm at. We'll be over 200 employees between subcontractors and Tiffany folks in the valley. Probably by the time, I would say 1st of June, mid-June, we'll be 200 strong, trying to get these flood mitigations going.
Thank you very much. Mike, you got
I
one?
just wanna make a mention that September 7th is my birthday, so that would be a very nice present from you guys.
We'll need to make sure I'll put that in my daily planner.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, before you go,
Sir.
hang on. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple of questions. So just to, and I know you went really quick, but just to reiterate, we're doing the sediment removal.
Correct.
Whole Creek as you go, and then we're gonna come back and do the bank stabilization, which will be an engineered shotcrete but not poured walls or anything like that.
There, right now, that is in Civil Tech's hands. There's going to be probably several variations of stuff they recommend. They brought in their structural engineer to look at different certain areas. So there'll be multiple products that you guys will probably be seeing as that goes through. But yes, the plan is to get all the sediment removed, try to get full conveyance, get them as much capacity out of this as we can. As Civil Tech starts to come up with their hard plans, we'll start taking on those areas as we can, and again, trying to get as much of that done before the rains come.
And then I know that Civil Tech is doing a set of documents that we'll be working hand in hand with to make sure we have right of entry, construction easements, all that. And I know in our conversations, you're very in tune to what it is to go onto somebody else's property and
Yes, sir.
and work and talk a little bit about how you approach.
Well, and again, we try to come down here and we understand what everybody here has gone through. And like I said, we've been working with the floods for quite some time. I've had some very hostile conversations with those that just tore me up one side and down the other. And you have to understand, and we understand, what the community has gone through. That's what brought a contractor like me here. So we tried our best to take the approach of what if this was your property, your family, your wife, your children, your grandchildren? How would you approach that? And that's where we stand on. We do our level best to try to put ourselves in your shoes. And I know it's a very painful thing for some to watch as we go through and get this process to get these channels where they can flow correctly. But we do our level best to communicate and try to help everybody along the process. You know, a lot of times our hands are tied by design by the engineers that are above us, and we can only do what they allow us to do. But we try to take the approach as softly as we can, understanding that this community has seen a lot. Your last event that come through here is, it's horrible. It's just absolutely something you couldn't even dream up of what your community has gone through. And we understand that. We come off of Coconino County dealing with all of their flood control stuff, watching. We were on the front lines as people's homes were being washed through and their cars were being put in ditches. And so we're very in tune, and we try our best to be as sensitive as we can and understand what you're going through. So we are approachable. You can talk to us. And again, we'll just try to be as much of this community as we can.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, CivTech is putting together documents so we can, when we start in a property, we can show them their property and what areas need to be addressed and what areas won't. So it's not we're gonna come on your property and you have no idea where you're gonna be working. We're gonna have documents to designate the area that needs to be touched and what needs to be left alone, to reassure the property owners that, you know, it's just not a blank ticket to go in there and move dirt. So that's real important.
And we clearly delineate our work areas right out the gate. We have survey come in, give us our areas of disturbance, where we should be, where we shouldn't be. So it's very clear at that point of what the homeowner's expecting to see.
Going back to what Mariano mentioned of Pinal Creek and Six Shooter Canyon, there was a post out there about, are you working in the Six Shooter Canyon area, or who is that working out there?
That is us. We
They
have
said they're cutting
started.
trees down and everything.
Yes, sir.
And there was a concern in there, that, you know, people posted they don't want their trees cut down.
Correct. And the only thing that is being removed is what has been approved by Gila County and the engineering stuff that absolutely has to go.
Okay. That's according to the engineer, okay.
That's according, yes, sir. So we're on the same page with everybody else. I hate pulling a tree out of the ground. I hate messing up the landscape and destroying anything at all. But it's something that a task that we're assigned to, and unfortunately, it's part of the process, sir.
And your company has leased this Empire building
Yes,
across the
sir.
highway. That's why we see all the equipment. People see the equipment. That's your equipment coming in to
Yes, sir.
work on this project then.
Yeah, currently at this point, I have 68 people working in Gila County right now.
And then, so you advertised locally. Did you get a lot of hits on?
I have stacks of employment applications. We started working through on getting those folks on. We're waiting on a few more signatures on wrapping up the Gila County work before I bring in the entire force. But right now I'm looking to hire 12 as soon as I get the next release.
Okay.
We are reaching out and bringing in all the local trucking outfits, working through that also. So I've been running 6 or 8 of the rigs this week, and we could be upwards of 50 when we hit into full flow.
And you're stationed down here. You're currently residing. in
You
Globe.
guys are stuck with me until we're done, so. Yeah, so, just so everybody knows something about me, I take this very personally. I treat this as this is my home, and I see all your faces, and you guys will all become a part of the family. We see what's happened, what it's done to your yards, your landscaping, you know. We've had families, when we were up in Coconino County, the first thing that they said is, we're afraid to close our eyes at night. We're afraid for our children. We're afraid for our family. We're afraid for our livestock. And by the time we were up and out, within 6 or 8 months' time, those same people are going, you know, we can sleep again. We have a level of confidence, the level of comfort. And that's what I'm hoping for to do with this community, is get this community where it's safe at night, and they know without a shadow of a doubt that we've done everything we could to take care of it.
Yes.
Ms. Mayor, members of council, last question. So what's your favorite restaurant?
Well, you know, the fat guy's working his way around, so we haven't picked a real hard one yet, but that old barbecue place has caught me a couple of times.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Item B is a proclamation for National Public Works Week for the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2026, on behalf of the City of Globe Council. And it'll be followed with a presentation by John Trujillo, former Phoenix Public Works Director. So I'll read the proclamation. And this one's small, so I'm gonna have to put my glasses on. National Public Work Week Proclamation, May 17th through May 23rd, 2026, rooted in service, powered by community. Whereas public work professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the state's sustainability and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Globe, Arizona. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Globe, Arizona, to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, be it now resolved, I, Mayor Algameros, do hereby designate the week of May 17th through May 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. So we'll have John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to take a quick moment to acknowledge we've got 2 members from Gila County Public Works. The two we wanted to share this, it's a mutual work that we do. We also have Matt Rencher tonight from Gila County, a Deputy Public Works Director, Steve Williams sitting here in the audience, and then Alexis Rivera from the town of Miami. We wanted to take that quick moment to bring that group together because we also respect and acknowledge the fact that we've always worked together, and more so through these flooding events.
Thank you for doing that.
And want to introduce John Trujillo and give him his moment to speak, and then I'll follow up with him. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, city manager, and the public and staff. Next week, we celebrate National Public Works Week and recognize the men and women who keep our communities running every single day. This year's theme, Rooted in Service, Powered by Community, perfectly captures what public works represents. Most people never think about public works when everything is working properly. They expect clean water when they turn on the faucet, safe roads when they drive to work, reliable trash collection, functioning traffic signals, maintained parks, and emergency response during times of crisis. And behind every one of those services are dedicated professionals who show up every single day, often before sunrise, late into the night, during storms, emergencies, and difficult conditions to serve their communities. And unfortunately, here in Globe, we recently saw firsthand just how important public works truly is. The devastating flooding that impacted Globe changed lives forever. Families were displaced, businesses were damaged, roads, drainage systems, and infrastructure were overwhelmed. Lives were lost, and emergency crews worked around the clock. But during that tragedy, something powerful happened. as John mentioned. Public Works crews, first responders, utility staff, operators, engineers, maintenance teams, and volunteers stepped forward without hesitation. While others were evacuating, they were entering flooded streets, clearing debris, restoring access, protecting infrastructure, and helping people get to safety. That is what public service looks like. In moments like those, Public Works is no longer invisible. People suddenly see the dedication, sacrifice, and commitment behind the work. They see individuals willing to put community before themselves. That resilience, that willingness to serve during the most difficult moments is what defines Public Works. Public Works is truly the foundation of our quality of life. It touches nearly every aspect of daily life. And Mayor, you mentioned several of those with your proclamation: roads, stormwater, streets. When disaster strikes, Public Works professionals are among the first to respond and the last to leave. And you see that happening now, last to leave. Yet despite how essential this profession is, many people still do not fully understand the scope of what Public Works does. That is why Public Works Week matters. It reminds our communities that Public Works is not simply about infrastructure. It is about protecting lives, supporting families, and building stronger communities. Today, Public Works professionals face enormous challenges: aging infrastructure, workforce shortages, population growth, climate impacts, and increasing service demands. Yet every day, they continue to adapt, innovate, and serve with professionalism and pride. And as someone who has spent much of my career in public service, I can honestly say that Public Works professionals are some of the hardest working and most committed individuals I've ever known. And they do it not for the recognition, but because they genuinely care about the communities they serve. The flooding in Globe reminded all of us that infrastructure resilience and emergency preparedness are no longer optional. Communities depend on strong leadership, planning, and investment to protect lives and property. But most importantly, communities depend on people. That is why we must continue investing not only in infrastructure, but also in the next generation of Public Works leaders. To all Public Works professionals here today, thank you for your service, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for everything you do to improve the quality of life for everybody. Your impact is seen in every safe roadway, every reliable utility, every restored neighborhood, and every life protected during times of crisis. Public Works truly is rooted in service and powered by a community. Mayor, members of the council, thank you, and happy Public Works Week.
Can I get a picture with them?
Yeah, so I think we have someone's gonna, Danny's gonna take some pictures here.
We can get Public Works.
John, who do you want down?
Anybody here for representing the county? We're all in it together.
Get John in the picture too.
Oh, you're good. Come on, guys. Down front.
We set this up.
Put John right closer.
Yeah, get him in the middle. He's the man of the hour.
John Trujillo.
In the center,
Short
John.
people in the front, tall people in the back, make 3 rows.
Mariano.
Everybody?
Scooter.
Get a couple.
Thank you.
Did you see this? Good to see you.
Thank you for coming. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment. I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
This is for the record. In the emergency response plan of the federal government, meaning FEMA, there are 2 emergency support functions that these agencies are recognized, ESF 1 That's Emergency Support Function 1, Transportation, and Emergency Support Function 3, Public Works and Engineering. They are considered emergency responders, and I thank them for their service. Thank you.
Did you have any other comments, John, or you're moving on, we're moving to
No,
the next one?
I'm ready to move on, sir. Thank you,
So
Mayor.
item C is introductions of new public work employees to council. We have James Green, Fleet Department, Stephen Smith, Engineering Department, and Adrian Navarro, Water Department. John?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First of all, once again, I'd like to thank John Trujillo for those kind words in the Public Works. We thought, actually, John worked with staff a few years ago, doing some preliminary reporting or actually looking at analysis with our Fleet Department. And mostly, which me and Paul discussed, it, we actually thought it'd be important that he kind of do analysis of our Public Works Department, where we were at currently and where we wanted to go. Tonight, a few weeks ago, we actually celebrated some employees that had 30 years of service. So we talk about that retention. Tonight, I talked to you about succession planning. And through that report with John Trujillo, some of the employees are gonna be presented to you are those key elements of where we would like to be in the future. We are currently at where we're striving for. So this is one of those elements, and each one of the supervisors take a moment to speak of that employee. I will start with James. One of the key elements, as you all know, when we talk about fleet and repair and replacement and long-term goals, one of the things we came across was a lot of times too is the tracking, the work that was done on vehicles, the fleet maintenance program in general for all of the city globes, not just Public Works. We're looking at police, fire, and one of the things is having somebody that can provide that documentation on a day-to-day level. Staffing, of course, at that time was a little bit limited. So our goal was just to find that right piece of that puzzle. And I believe we found that piece of that puzzle. So that's why I want to make that introduction tonight. James Green came to us just in the last few months, but his experience is pretty broad. His wife, James and his wife Callie have been coming to the area and Globe, visiting family members and friends for at least the last 20 years. His mother-in-law owns a small business downtown area, so they always had that connection and coming into the Globe area. Of course, like many, fall in love with the area, such as myself, and we become transplants to this area. So recently, they made that move in the last few years, at least 4 years. So he's actively been working he worked with Gila County, worked with the town of Chandler, but for a few years. But most importantly, what really stood out to us in the process, interview process, was his experience and knowledge of broad equipment. You know, also the biggest thing is administrative level, that he's really responsive in documentation and reporting, and also his energy. You know, he started off with saying, I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. Boy, did he underrate that comment. You know, because he's constantly working. The biggest thing is reaching out to other staff members, reaching out to Tina in our finance department. And that's the energy that we wanted in that area. And it's no discredit, our mechanics have actually actively been keeping our fleet active and keeping the best that they can. But we knew we had to take it to another level. So that's basically where we're at tonight. He's worked at least 22 plus years in trade skills, construction, and maintenance, preventive maintenance. So that's something that really popped out because we knew that we needed that caliber of employee for the documentation where we wanted to go. And so far, we've been successful. We've had different meetings with staff, different department heads, with PD, fire. So that's kind of where we talk about in past budget cycle, we've talked about centralizing our fleet and bringing everything back to where we used to have it amongst our, in our public works yard and having those schedules. So that's basically the direction that we're heading. I feel confident that we're going in the right direction. And like I said, keeping that positive. We do have limitations, but I think even with those limitations at hand, some of those are going to always be, budgetary discussions. But tonight we're going to celebrate where we're headed with this. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that, when we talk about working with all staff members, that's the biggest thing is the communication. We hear it in any conversations, and that's where I think it's really important that we share that as a group. So the only other thing I'd like to add and introduce him here tonight, James, if you want to go ahead and come up, he's already probably read from the embarrassment, but the reality is he is a transplant to our area. And I kidded with him this morning and told him he's probably one of the very few people that knows what a Zamboni is. I said, so that's why I wanted to share that, because even when I mentioned it with our admin this morning, she looked at me and says, what is a Zamboni? So, but like I said, I don't know if, Paul, do you know what a Zamboni is? Okay, see.
Metro Center.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's why I said he's a transplant. I want to welcome him to our team. He's been, like I said, for the last few months, we've been working hard. We're going to continue to do that. I love the energy that we've brought to the table for our fleet department and overall City of Globe for our public works and all our departments and centralizing our goal.
Thank you, sir. I don't know how to follow that. That's very nice. My mother doesn't speak that nice about me, so I appreciate that, John. I'm glad to be here. I spent 3 years working with the county, learning the area and learning things, and I appreciate being able to bring it to a place that's actually appreciative of it. John has been amazing to work with. The staff over there has been amazing to work with. Limited resources, we get that. It's a smaller community. I have less to draw on, but I have so much more enthusiasm from people. Even the 36-year veterans like my one mechanic who's 75 years old, I can't beat that guy. He is amazing, a great asset to this city. So I am very appreciative for the opportunity, and I hope to make this the last move.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. I get the privilege of introducing you to our new construction utilities inspector. And when I say new, I'm talking about 16 months old new. He actually joined us back in January 2025 and realized we haven't introduced him yet. So this is Stephen Smith with a PH, not a V. He makes sure we get to know that sometimes. But he brings a lot of experience to the city. He has about 30 years working with in the construction engineering field. He has a focus in surveying. He knows a lot about the surveying aspects, and so good wealth there. He's really knowledgeable in the materials testing as far as the concrete, asphalt, and soil testing. So that's a huge asset I don't think we've had ever here in the city. And of course, again, he has construction inspection experience. Now, when he came on board, he was really ready to go. I was going through contracts and the language and trying to understand the language with our template and the construction side of things. And he brought to my attention the trench work and what needs to be done there and the standards that we need to have, that we should probably have that in the contract. And so I asked him, well, give me some language that we can put in there that would be a template language. Did it. It's working beautifully. We now are getting our contractors to actually fill the trench the proper way anytime they're digging. So credit to him on that, bring that to my attention that it wasn't in the contract. And the one thing I will say that I have noticed since he's been here is the relationship building that he's doing with our contractors. He's really developed a really close relationship with many of them, getting to know them. And so when he goes out there, because he's very particular and a stickler to what needs to be done right, they're listening. And that's what I've noticed through the relationships that he's building. So I'm learning a lot from him just on what to expect. He's always coming every day with full energy, and sometimes I can't match that energy. And so I'm trying to keep up with him. He tires me out sometimes with the discussions that we have because I'm trying to keep up with him. But what I have confidence is that when he's out there inspecting any project, I know it's going to be done right. I don't have to worry about whether or not it's being looked at. So just wanted to welcome Stephen Smith. Stephen.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Flattering. I don't really know what else to say. I love working here. I love the job. I love the people. I love working with Travis, John, Vince, Uriel, that young lady over there filming me, Jessica. Jose, Brandy, everybody's great. So I enjoy the job, I enjoy the work, and these people make it to where I look forward to coming to work every day. So I look forward to doing that.
Great.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here.
Go Cardinals.
One more. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So when we went out to advertise for this position of a water compliance officer, me and Jody looked at a bunch of applications. We picked a few, and I remember the interview with Adrian here. She really stood out. She had a lot of energy in her interview. After it was all over, me and Jody were like, that girl had energy. And so we discussed it, talked to John about it, and then we made an offer to Adrian. She came on board. She has a background in sales. Her organization skills that she brought with her to the department is crazy. Like if you guys go into the water barn, there's no doubt you're gonna find the part you're looking for now. Like there's labels on everything. She's just been amazing. She's been with us 6 months now. She's also taken on part of the backflow compliance aspect of the job with Jody. Jody's been training her on that. She's been reviewing all our ADEQ documents, the what do you call it, the SMRF, the DMRs. She's reviewing those now. Sorry, my throat's dry. Yeah, I think it's short and simple. Introduce Adrian. She wanted to show off her public speaking skills, so she said to give her some more time. So yeah, so this may take a while. So this is Adrian Navarro.
Hi, it's an honor to be here. I'm so grateful for the position that I have. It's very unique. I have the ability to be at the barn, working, with the water department on that side, as well as here at City Hall. Obviously, working with Jody, but I'm very grateful for my position. I like everyone that I work with, and I look forward to learning a lot more. So, yay.
Yeah. Good job.
Welcome. We hear names often, of people we hire, but it's good to see their faces now and
Definitely.
really see a little history on them. Appreciate all the support also, Public Works, all you guys being here. We appreciate that very much, and we appreciate all the work you do.
Yeah.
Item D is employee recognition of 20 years of service, May 1st, 2006 for Adolfo Ortiz, Water Superintendent. Vince?
Yeah, so Adolf's not here tonight. Actually, when I was outside, he called me. He's out on a project right now. He needed a tool. It's in the back of my truck, so he stopped by to get a tool, and he didn't want to come in, so he's out working. And just on that, I think I've known Adolf 8 years now. Learning from that guy is amazing. You all know we have an aging system. Some of the fittings don't fit, right? So you get these new fittings and they don't really fit. And Adolf comes up with creative ideas where he just somehow magically makes it work. There's times where we have sewer clogs and we're like, let's get a different tool, let's give up, let's dig it. And he's like, no, let's keep going forward. And then seconds later, it's unclogged. He doesn't give up. He fights through his everything he has going on. He's fighting. I don't know. I think all of us in this room could say good things about Adolf. He's just the man. So, but tomorrow morning we're going to give him his award. We have our safety meeting, and we'll give it to him tomorrow. So, yeah. You want to say anything about Adolf? No? Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Yep.
Item E is presentation of the Arizona Local Technical Assistance Program, LTAP, Build a Better Mousetrap Award to the City of Globe.
Yeah. So, good evening again, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so you might be wondering what Build a Better Mousetrap is. It's kind of a funny title, but so LTAP through ADOT is a program. And we get these emails all the time. There are all these advertisements, and I see this one at Build a Better Mousetrap. So I read it. I'm like, this is kind of funny, but it's kind of cool. So a little backstory on the project. Down at the wastewater plant during belt pressing, you have to use a polymer. Polymer comes in a 55-gallon drum. it's like a thick snot, like it's nasty. It's heavy, it comes in that barrel, it gets delivered. You have to get it on a dolly and roll it over to this area where you hook it to a pump so it can pump into the system. Well, you gotta tip it so that polymer is always at the front of the barrel so that the pump can pump. When you're dollying it over, you obviously have to tip it back, which, you know, there's that weight on you. If you get it too far, that break point could topple over on top of you. If you don't strap it down, it could fall out of the dolly and spill over the floor, slipping hazards, all kinds of stuff there. When you go set it down, it could fling you forward. If you go too far, you could hit the face on the dolly. There's a lot of issues. So operator down there, Sonia, she recognized the hazard and she's like, this sucks. Like, we need to fix this. Someone's gonna get hurt. And so at the time, she talked to her brother, Jose. Jose came up with an idea. He's another one of those guys where he sees an issue and he can solve it. So he had a little idea of creating this barrel tipper. We didn't have a name for it, but then that's what it became. They asked, hey, can we build this thing? Can, you know, we want to try this. And I was like, well, how much are you going to spend? Like, this seems like quite a project. And he's like, got scrap metal. I just need to probably buy a winch. He went and bought a $70 winch from Tractor Supply. He got a battery and used scrap metal and built this thing. He painted it up. They said, come down, check this out. Okay, let's go. And so we went down there and this thing's amazing. Like, it worked. It worked perfect. And then I saw this advertisement. I'm like, well, I'm gonna submit these pictures, this application. Submitted the application like, I think like early last summer. Forgot about it completely. And then next thing you know, I get an email saying that we won. And I'm like, what? And they wanted to give this award like a month ago. So talking to them, told them about this week, about Public Works Week and the proclamation, timing just seemed right. So tonight, got Rebecca here from LTAP. She's gonna kind of go through her presentation about the program, and then we have a little award. So, anything, questions on that so far? You'll see it in the presentation. Yeah, you'll see it in the presentation, and then we'll give some more details about it.
All right.
My name is Rebecca Maher. I'm with the Arizona Local Technical Assistance Program. I've been with ADOT for 20 years now, but with the program since 2011.
If I can get you
Oh, yeah,
closer
there
to
we
the
go.
mic,
Thank-
yeah, the mic right there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is my team. I have the top row represents 1.25 people, of course, because I'm half ADOT, half Arizona Local Technical Assistance Program. But we have 3 dedicated regional trainers. We have 1 dedicated heavy equipment trainer, and we have 2 regional trainers. Let's see if that'll go. Oh, maybe not. There we go. There we go. So the program was developed in 1981. It's actually the Rural Technical Assistance Program, and it was designed to help local agencies utilize their funding and for us to be able to do training and help with technical assistance. Program membership. All local agencies are members of LTAP. Some are non-contributing and some are contributing. I just want to make, there is a mistake on the slide. PAG, FEMA Association of Government, is actually contributing. As we live in transportation, we live in a world of acronyms, so I just want to say what a COG and MPO is. A COG is a Council of Government, and an MPO is Metropolitan Planning Organization. And we have COGs and MPOs throughout Arizona who actually contribute membership fees for local agencies, as is with Globe is CAG. So what does that do? We have fees for training, for work zone, regular classes, safety classes. And then our overview, what do? We have on-demand training. That means that City of Globe can request specific training for their local agencies. We also have heavy equipment training. We have an equipment loan program, and then we also have technical assistance. What does that mean? We provide on-demand assistance as needed. Let's say you have a pit that needs assistance on, like, maybe to put in a road out there or something like that. Our heavy equipment trainer can help with that. Or you need more guidance with MUTCD as you have construction happening. Our trainers can help with that. And then we have our Road Scholar program, which is basically 3 levels that helps an employee wherever they are in their career. We have 3 levels. We have 1, 2, and 3, and we have an award for each level. I was just in Florence today giving our second Road Scholar 3 award. And then our heavy equipment training is unique, is that it's 30 hours, and it's 4 hours of in-classroom training, and then 26 hours of practical training. So as you're looking at what you may need for the City of Globe, we tailor it to what you all need. We're not out there saying, okay, we're gonna do drainage, we're gonna do this. What do you guys need for your employees? And then we have an equipment loan program. We have 2 retroflectometers. These are free of charge to loan, and these are gonna check the retroflectivity of your signs and your pavement. And then our program communications, we have a weekly newsletter. We have a quarterly newsletter that's going out tomorrow with pictures from the Innovation Award today. And it also shows where we're going out throughout the state. And then we also have our website. So here's why we're here as a local innovation spotlight, what Vince just talked about. So Build a Better Mousetrap, it's such a weird name. We call it BAM sometimes. And it's basically highlighting local innovation and positive impacts that local agencies have. You guys do so much with so little. And so with the federal program, it's called Center for Local Aid Support. They want to be able to highlight our local agencies while also sharing these innovations out. Because what's really been neat over these last several years is seeing when an innovation comes and they spotlight it and they win, then to see what another agency, local agency, anywhere in the United States, and also Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, come up with. So your mechanical barrel tipper may well help another local agency, in Minnesota, come up with something. And so there's 5 different categories: innovative project, bold steps, smart transportation, pioneer, and putting families first innovation. One of the easiest innovations I saw was a stop slow paddle. You know, it's kind of hard to sometimes see where the stop and slow is. They put a retroflective piece of tape on the side to show which side that needs to be, so that when they're in that area flagging, it's easy and quick for them to be able to see it. And so, City of Globe, we want to honor you guys, City of Globe Public Works, for their mechanical barrel tipper with our Local Innovation Award today. And I think Vince explained it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read all that, but you
No,
can see
no,
in
you
the,
don't have to read all
yeah,
that.
you can see in the picture, that big yellow circle you see there is a piece of sheet metal where you put the dolly, or take the barrel right to that, it slides, sets right on there, and then that chain lifts it from the bottom end up and basically inverts it and lets the polymer go to the front of the barrel so that it can flow to the polymer pump. Like I said, all the metal there, he used scrap metal, the winch, like I said, like $70 from Tractor Supply, and then a car battery just to run it. I don't know. It's been in service for a year or 2 years. More probably close to 2 years now. I thought it was funny the paint scheme, but it works for what goes on down there. It has the safety yellow, and then we thought the green for the sewer. So it's kind of neat. Yeah, that's basically what it does there. It's a good picture. We should have got a video. Yeah.
Got a video on it?
Yeah. No, that's what I was thinking. We should have had a video.
Yeah.
But you're more than welcome to come down.
Yeah.
Monday through Fridays, 6 to 3. Sonia would be happy to show that off down there. It works great. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
So by developing this mechanical device, do you get a patent on it, or how do you protect it?
Well, actually, since it's developed by the City of Public Works, would be actually your guys's property, right? Because it was developed with Public Works material. Although, I mean, hey, that's an idea.
Don't get no ideas.
Someone start a consulting firm right now.
Yeah.
Is it possible that
So then just part of this whole thing is like about Public Works is like
Yeah.
how proud of what they do. Like I saw that they did this. I'm like, you guys are amazing. Your thoughts on how you like had this hazard and to come up with a solution is just it's proud of them. That's amazing how they think.
I mean, $70, right? The $70, not only like time and energy, but also just safety. You know, a hospital bill, workman's comp claim, that's what it did. $70 saved thousands of dollars worth of, for the public works. And that's the biggest thing about local agencies. You guys do so much with so little. And we definitely appreciate everything you guys do. And then that's it.
Mr. Mayor,
Any
Go
questions?
ahead, Mike.
I don't know, maybe it'd be addressed to Paul. Should we look into patenting this? I'll tell you what.
I can contact the city attorney. A lot of sharing goes on in public works and city government in general. So I don't know if, you know, that would be something that we'd want to look at, but.
Well, in my many years in the mines, we used to have to manhandle those type of barrels that were pretty heavy and everything, and we never had anything like that. Might be an idea that we might benefit.
Well, if we're gonna market it, we need a catchy name.
Barrel tipper. I know,
Barrel tipper,
barrel
yeah.
tipper.
Barrel tipper, what do you need?
Yeah.
Then when you improve it, be barrel tipper two.
There you go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
You have to do stuff like retroflectometer, like you'll have to come up with a whole branding and like little mascot.
There you
Yeah.
go. Any questions or comments?
And yeah,
Just,
that's
just a
it.
comment, Mr. Mayor. I read through this thing twice yesterday. You know, we have a lot to read, but this was so creative. I had to go back and read it again. They built this thing, and I saw its purpose and intent, but that the idea came from us as a group. I was really impressed with that. It made my day. It's very, I hate to say the word, it's overwhelming and boring sometimes, the paper we read. That made my day.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Very creative.
If I can brag a little more on Jose's welding, he welded all this together, right? Yesterday morning, we had a company come out and do stress tests on our trolleys and our hoist systems down at the wastewater plant that lift pumps and other things up out of, you know, out of pits. Recently, Jose built another trolley system for some of our sodium bisulfate, which comes in 55-gallon drums also, and there's a trolley. Well, we had to have it certified and stress test on that. This company came out and put weights and stressed on it, and he was nervous. He looked at them testing it, and he's like, oh, cringing. But it moved less than a 16th, or less than right at a 16th of an inch. It barely moved, and his welds passed their test and certified that trolley system to function. So he's quite a welder. So
Neat. Very neat. Yeah.
This is up at the shop?
at the wastewater plant.
At the
Wastewater
wastewater.
plant.
Wastewater plant.
So we can go out there and
Definitely.
take a look, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a road trip.
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
I'm coming.
congratulations.
Very good.
I guess if we can get them up to take a picture and
Sure.
receive an award, I guess.
Yes. Come on up.
Welcome. Oh, so this is Jose. Sorry, Jose.
I think he deserves a round of applause.
What is it? Oh, okay. Good job,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Very good. Very good.
I will, we will.
Thank you guys.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Item F is a proclamation proclaiming May 2nd through the 3rd, which is already past 2026, as National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend. And I'll read the proclamation. Oh, I have a bigger copy. There it is. So this is National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Proclamation. Whereas the United States Congress and the President of the United States have designated the day of the annual National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service as a day to honor firefighters and emergency services personnel who have sacrificed their lives to save others by lowering the American flag on all federal buildings to half-staff. And whereas an average of 80 firefighters courageously make the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty each year. And whereas firefighters and emergency services personnel an essential role in the protection of lives and property in our local community. And whereas the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend marks a weekend following International Firefighters Day 2026. And whereas it is of major importance that we increase our efforts to reduce deaths, injuries, and property losses from fire. Therefore, I, Mayor Algameros of the City of Globe, Arizona, now call upon all citizens of the City of Globe and upon all patriotic civic and educational organizations to observe the day May 1st, 2026 in recognition of the patriotic service and dedicated efforts for our fire and emergency services personnel by lowering American flags on all buildings at half-staff. I respectfully encourage these same organizations as well as the citizens of Globe to remember all fire and emergency personnel have made the all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community and to pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes by participating in Bells Across America for fallen firefighters. So they have an event for Toll the Batteries, the Bells across the nation. And I know this is late in coming, and Chief, if you want to speak a little bit on this, and then I'll give you the proclamation.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you again to the city for recognizing that important thing. We realize we were a little bit late in that. You know, we did, however, take the time to share out with the public the information and as you mentioned, those things that could be done to recognize that important day where you take the time to honor those who have made that sacrifice. You know, having had some from our community and you know, obviously from all around the nation, you know, it's an important to take a moment and recognize those individuals who through their service have you know, made that sacrifice. You know, we're on behalf of the fire department, we're honored by the proclamation where we and again we appreciate the city for taking that opportunity to read the proclamation.
Good. Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
And you'll get it to where it needs to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item G is a requesting to table that. We don't have Zach, who's present with us for the general plan update.
Right, we're gonna push that back a meeting or two.
Okay. Item H is presentation of the draft fiscal year 27 tentative budget with possible council direction. And we should have Linda online, or?
Yeah, Linda's gonna be online, but actually we're gonna begin with Tina. And so Linda's online, Tina's online, and it'll be a team effort. So, Tina, do you wanna go ahead and start off with? Tina, can you hear me?
She's probably already going.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Her picture?
There she is.
Tina, we cannot hear you. I don't know why.
She in Hawaii already?
Sounds like you can hear us. But hang on a second. Is that Danny driving that mouse? Linda, can you unmute and speak and see if it's us or? Linda can.
And I can hear Linda.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
We can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
All right, very good. All right, Mayor Gameros, members of the council, thank you again for letting me help participate in the development of your city budget. My goal tonight is to give you some of the highlights of the presentation that you will see next week. Cover some of the preliminary decisions that budget at your direction. So I'm going, oh, are they, you put the slides up, or you just wanna have me up, either way?
Do you wanna allow?
Do you have a copy of the presentation as well?
All right, so Tina, we're looking at the presentation right now.
Did we get that? We got that, didn't we?
I can tell what slides you're on, I just can't,
Got a copy?
obviously read it,
Yeah.
but I have it up here so I can reference it, so. The first slide, go ahead and go to the first slide. So, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, this is the big picture of all your revenues by fund. I will cover the general fund in detail tonight, and I will do each of the funds in detail next week when we adopt the tentative budget. And I just wanna say here that, for the most part, when I'm talking, I will be comparing the two yellow columns, the requested budget for next year compared to the, final adopted budget of the current year. And I will occasionally reference the 26 forecast, which is the column between those two where we're talking about where we think we're gonna finish this year. And the changes, again, as I said, fund by fund, we will cover next week. So we can go ahead and go to the expenditure by fund slide. So we will cover most of this in detail next week, but I do want you to see how your overall budget as a city is increasing by 40.2 million. So you can see on the very bottom right that you're adopting a budget of 97,691,340. And this year's budget was 57, and I don't have the internal transfers, but it was around 57.5 million this year. So I don't want you to panic, it's a big leap in number, but the slide I'm gonna go over next will show you that that increase is primarily due to your increased grant capacity, the new WIFA loans, and the fire station bonding. So, while this slide does show your not to exceed proposed budget number, which you know will set the limit next week when you adopt the tentative budget, you can reduce it again if you need to between tentative and final, and certainly, as I always say, it doesn't mean you have to spend it, because a lot of this budget will depend on whether those grants are realized or not. So what I want to show you on the next slide is what your grant opportunities are. So this shows the reason that your budget is increased so much. And again, we went through this pretty much in detail with the ad hoc tax committee, the budget work group, but I will review it again. So the grant fund alone, Fund 20, has an increase of 32.3 million. And I went ahead and showed above that, that half of that is your NRCS grant that you applied for back in February. So if that 24.7 million comes to be and you receive those grant revenues, you need to have the capacity to spend it. Same thing with your DEMA funding. So when the grants come in, you need to have the capacity to expend them. There's also the possibility of some new federal funding that's been awarded towards your ladder truck, the fire truck. And that's a new $1 million grant that may come through. You have a CDBG park grant, and you have a federal appropriation for the water infrastructure grant as well. So that alone accounts for 75% of the 44 million that it shows there. Below that, you see that the bridge fund also has a revenue and expenditure capacity of 6.3 million, because they are looking at grant opportunities for the Yuma Street and the Haskins bridges. So again, if the grants come through, we have the capacity to accept the grant and to spend the money. If they aren't realized, it doesn't need to be expended. The next two items are your $1 million WIFA water loan and your $3 million WIFA sewer loan. The WIFA water loan, of course, is the match for your Army Corps grant, and the $3 million is part of your match for the NRCS grant. And finally, we have the new expenditures that we may need for the fire station bond. So that would be whatever your initial expenditures might be next year. This is the difference you saw between the big revenues and the big expenditure slides. Is the revenues show the $16 million bonding capacity, but we only anticipate that we would expend as much as $2 million in 27, and that's the initial bonding costs as well as the design fees. So that's what's appropriate. So just those grant opportunities and million. And really, your budget's actually only growing 40.2 million. So truthfully, you will see that there are reductions in other funds of 4.3 million. Those reductions are water and sewer and the road tax, because you have, as you complete projects and spend some of your one-time money, those budgets contract. So again, next week when we do more detail of the enterprise funds, we will see where that is. But I just wanted you to not be so alarmed when you're adopting a budget from 57.5 million to 97 million, that you really understand that it's, again, we're gonna say this over and over, it's a response to the flood, which we know is gonna be so much of what we're gonna talk about. So the next slide, we do this a little different than I've done in the past. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the property tax levy first this week. We really haven't had a chance to present this to council, but like we have done every year that I've been here, and it's your commitment as a council, the property tax rate is based on a flat levy equal to last year's levy of $545,264. It requires no truth in taxation posting, because you will reduce your rate from the current rate of $1.1892 down to $1.1639 in order to bring in the same levy as you did last year on the same property that was taxed last year. So your levy growth, you can see in that right column, of $2,710 is just the growth on your new construction, which is allowable under the truth and taxation law. So this is the anticipated rate that you would adopt on July 14th after you have the appropriate postings in your public hearing in June.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council.
It's a small piece of your budget, truthfully, so I just kind of wanted to cover that first before I go into the general fund revenues.
And Tina, I wanted to just give a quick, the standard, just simple explanation, if there is a simple explanation for Arizona property tax law. Our levy is the amount that we collect. As property valuations go up, then we ratchet down a fraction of our rate in order to keep the levy standard. The only time that raises is when we add in new construction. But keeping the levy at the same rate was a commitment that we made when we made some tax changes before with a 1%. And once again, we uphold, as Tina said, council's commitment to hold property tax flat. And but we do get that added benefit from the new construction. So, Tina, thank you.
And the next slide is the one I'm probably going to spend the most time talking about right now. I did do a presentation a while ago about where you were at with your general fund revenues. So I am going to reiterate that, and I'm going to spend a little time on this slide tonight, and maybe we won't spend as much time on it next week when we go through the tentative budget. But for the rest of the general fund revenues, you will see that the forecast for the remaining city taxes, just on that first line alone, that forecast of $10,247,000 is about 8% below this year's budget. It's almost $900,000 less than our budget. And we know that this is the impact of the flood on the city's tourism, their business, their community life. And so because of this, we are only budgeting next year's sales tax at the same exact amount that we budgeted in 26. The only difference between that $11,143,000 and the $11,146,000 is that $2,700 in new construction property tax. Otherwise, we are budgeting an exactly flat rate. So what we're saying is we are hoping to return to the growth that we expected to have this year. It's still a little scary because that's still 10% more than this year's forecast. So that still feels like a stretch to say we're bringing in 10.2 this year and 11.1 next year. But I kind of went back and did a little bit of the history, and in fiscal year 24, your actuals exceeded your budget by 16%. In FY 25, the actuals exceeded the budget by 8.6%. And what we are hoping is to have an FY '27 budget exceed the FY '25 actuals by 2.7%. So we're basically saying in 2 years, we hope to just have 2.7% growth. So that feels a little less scary. It seems to be achievable. I think you are well on your road to recovery in many aspects of your business community. It is definitely something we're still watching, but it's hard not to say it's going to grow. You know, that's a tough call to say that we're not going to improve. Going to the next line, your licenses and permits are pretty much flat from last year's budget. Still a slight increase over this year's forecast, but the community development departments continue to improve these revenues, look at reimbursements, and so that is based on their recommendation. The next line, which is your intergovernmental revenues, that's your state transaction privilege tax, the vehicle license tax, and your urban revenue sharing. These numbers were taken straight out of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns forecast. The net impact of those three revenues was a slight increase of about $80,000. So while Santan Valley had an adverse effect and it went down a little, vehicle license tax is still very strong and made up for some of that, and the urban revenue sharing went up a little bit. The next line, the franchise fees, they were down 12,000, well, we're taking them down 12,000 next year based on the projections this year, but I think this also may have been due to the flooding, and so we're hoping to see those improve again in '27. I think maybe one of the biggest hits was your charges for services that did not meet expectations this year. Again, I keep saying it, I sound a little bit like a broken record, that part of that is due to the flooding, so you didn't have museum admissions, and sales were down, the PD was down in staffing, so they didn't receive as much in their grant funding, their GET 'em grants, as was anticipated. So overall, it's below forecast by about 174,000, and we reduced the budget by 74,000 for next year. Some of the services that are doing well were the auction proceeds, so yay Public Works, and recreation revenues have been up as well, which is terrific. So the next one is fines and forfeitures, where court fines and the fees for inmate housing reimbursements just did not materialize as we expected, and that budget just had to be reduced for next year. Miscellaneous revenues includes your interest, and we budgeted next year's interest at 75% of the current adopted budget, because as these fund balances get used, as you complete the Jesse Hayes sidewalk, Reese Canyon Bridge was a prepaid grant. We've made a number of large equipment purchases for jetter trucks and CDL sweepers, so any of those things that are bringing your cash balances down will reduce your LGIP. So we just wanted to be conservative about the number that we put in for interest for next year. And that second to the last line, contributions, that's really just the $13,000 from ASU again for the Lodestar project. So overall, your full budget is $22 million, and that's down from $22,327,000 this year. So the story, as you've heard, is that we tightened the belts. Every department had to look at their budgets and make cuts, because instead of a budget growing year, it was a budget tightening year in the general fund. The last thing I want to note on this slide is it does include your general fund balance, and I think I did mention this when I talked to you about revenues a few weeks ago, that you did the adopted budget anticipated starting this year with $4,298,938 in fund balance. And after the '24 audit, that number actually improved by about $320,000. So even though all your revenues above that were $1 million less, this makes that number only $715,000 difference between your forecast and your adopted. So that just helped cover some of those losses in revenues. But that number that we have anticipated now is that we're starting fiscal year '27 with a beginning fund balance and this is what we consider our one-time monies, so not new operational revenues, not new operational expenses, but a beginning fund balance of $4,159,322. And so the final slide that I'm gonna talk about is the plan for your one-time revenues.
And Tina, just,
Based on the input from the ad hoc committee, some decisions that council still will make regarding its contingency policy. So if you wanna go ahead and go to that last slide.
Tina, can you hear me?
My last slide.
Tina, can you hear me?
Yes?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to make the point before we leave the slide. This represents general fund revenues, not enterprise or special fund revenues. But these are based on, ongoing collections, where enterprise is based on, the fees for service for the water and sewer. And then you have the grant funds on top of that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so again, I'm just kind of focusing a little bit on general fund tonight, and hopefully we will go past this a little more quickly. We probably won't even have all of these slides in the presentation next week. But I will talk more about the enterprise funds, the grant funds, and the capital funds next week. So a big chunk of that beginning fund balance is the money that you collected for the PSPRS 0.3%. So in the prior years, like I talked about, where you guys have done, made such a great decision to buy down your PSPRS debt, we aren't sending that check this year. We are using that, again, depending on your decisions, but it's being carried forward, and at this time being allocated for other public safety uses. And those three uses that have been identified so far are that 300,000 of it will go towards the fire station bonding, along with next year's collection of 900,000. That's why that number is just sitting out there. Together, those two make the 1.2 million that we have to show as being available for the fire station bonding. The $369,215 is what is available to go towards the new ladder truck. I'll go over that. That's the extra numbers to the right there about the fire truck. And then there is a couple $100,000 that is being used to replace the chief's truck and the enclosure for the new ladder truck. So those three numbers add up to what we have projected as the 0.3% for fiscal year 26. It's all being carried forward. It's all making up part of that 4.1 million. So it's kind of coming off the top of that. We're saying that's got a dedicated use. So once you take that number out, the balance is 3,285,107. I'll jump over the fire truck real quickly. We have a $2.4 million cost for that. Mines have already donated $1,006,000. Left a balance of $1,004,000. We have a $369,000 available to apply toward that. There's still a balance of a little over $1 million. And right now we have two potential sources for that, which is a federal appropriation as well as a Freeport grant. So there is a possibility that maybe that will be covered. But you know, we don't really know the answer. Linda might be able to speak to that in a little bit. So back to the left column, we have a balance of 3.2 million. We are setting aside contingency of 2.5 million and a project reserve of 50,000. The Michelson building carried forward 150,000 was how much was in the 26 budget. So that's part of that carry forward balance, but it also needed another 37,500 for that match. The general plan, I guess we didn't get that presentation tonight, but there's some needs there. Linda can talk to some of these more in detail if you have questions. The cemetery funds are dedicated funds, part of your fund balance, that are restricted because of the fees that are collected are specifically for that. So we're going to try and make that happen in 27 with those funds. We talked a little bit about there's an unfunded mandate that came out for some free housing plans that came through the legislature this year. And then as we move away from leased vehicles, we have taken our last few years, I think we'll have one more year after this, on some fire department and police vehicles. So together that spent another 3 million, leaving about 214,000. And the decision to do with that is to continue our commitment to the police department to not have leased vehicles, but then we are going to have to keep purchasing them outright. So 2 PD vehicles, 186. So that is the
And Tina?
projected, proposed, requested use of fund balance for your 27 budget.
And Tina, before we go to the next slide, Linda, I know you're on buffering on your internet, but anything you wanted to add into the one-time funds that we're talking about here?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to zoom into tonight's presentation. Part of what I may have missed an opportunity to answer any questions. Did Council have questions regarding the slide on the one-time fund balance?
I know we've had a lot of this information presented with our work group, budget work group. We have tons of notes and that we've taken, and I have a question. I know we say, and we discussed this, but I didn't quite get an answer. If we do not get that $1 million or 1,124,000 for the truck, for the ladder truck, where is that gonna fall into place if we don't get that $1 million?
Well, if we do not receive the federal funding, we do have another opportunity for one of the local mines has a new grant opportunity that we would be applying for. Those details have not yet been announced, but our ladder truck does fall within the scope of those funds.
And if we don't get those funds, do we have a contingency plan for that?
Our contingency plan would be to finance the remaining funding.
Okay.
I mean, it would be like I say, it would be the worst case scenario that we could, but we would be able to do a lease
Purchase agreement.
piece of financing with the company that we're buying the fire truck from. We don't want to do that, but
That's
we
the
also
last resort.
last resort if we need to get the truck delivered.
When is we supposed to receive the truck?
Gary, what's the
November of this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we have 5 months.
Yes. Yes. A lot can happen in 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
Sure can.
Okay, and then again, this reflects us piecing together a budget that meets council needs, meets the needs of the flood, but meets the needs that we need to go forward with. Because we're not stopping, we still need to grow, we have plans with we will deal with the flood, but we will also deal with the goals and strategic, requests of council.
Priorities.
Yeah, council priorities, but I think we're ready to go to
Just so
the next slide.
the council knows, they're on the bottom, on the right, on the unfunded requests, those are still an amount that we don't have funding for at this time. To make sure we don't, okay.
Mayor, go ahead, say that again, I'm sorry.
We don't have funding for the unfunded requests that are documented on the right side of this document.
Correct.
Yes. Not at this time, but the 2 fire department heart monitors, so that's a great project that would be eligible for several different grants. We've applied to 3 private foundations for this funding. Was really hoping we could announce a victory this week, and we may still be able to. So that's one project we feel confident that we can get funded through a grant. And the other 3, the fleet roof lighting and software, through creative budgeting.
And the priority being that it looks like the priority would be the $100,000 for the fleet roof, which is in dire need of replacement.
Linda, do you hear that?
I did, and yes, but after talking to John, he believes that might be a larger amount than what we actually need. So we may be able to do the roof and the lighting next budget year, if all things continue to look good.
Good. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we had some takeaways from, we had our council ad hoc work group, feedback there. It's been a wonderful tool to help us, piece together the budget, make sure we have council priorities lined up and getting this. What we're, just to step back to the big picture, what we're presenting here is a solution to many of these problems that we have. It's a tight budget year, and we're, like I say, trying to keep the projects going, but still be prepared to deal with the flood. The funding of the bonding of the fire station is been a priority for council for many years. We have the project. I'm sorry, we have the property. We were very close to going to bonding, except for the flooding. We still intend to go to, once this budget is passed, to move forward with looking at the bonding, and that would be bonding in September, in the fall, and getting that started. If we do that, that would put the bonding about 6 months behind what we had originally planned. Original plan was to do it this spring, but again, we have passing this budget sets the stage so that we can go for the bonding. We're looking for about 1.2 million a year in debt service. We can bring in about 300,000 through general sales tax, but the key to the bonding is a request that we have talked to council about multiple times, and to pass this budget as we need to, it would require council to approve a redirect of the 0.3 PSPRS funding, the sales tax we collect that had, for the past 10 years, has been dedicated specifically to PSPRS, police and fire, and we would just broaden that definition to allow it to support public safety and allow us to have a general fund funding source for the bond between 800 and 900,000 a year, that would be dedicated to that bonding initiative, which would make when you go out to bond, one of the most important things is, do you have a dedicated, where you can get the money to pay it back? And if we have this 0.3% that has proven to support us, and by the way, we did this 10 years ago, and it saved us a lot of money in paying down early, paying above and beyond on our PSPRS. We're down to about 22% funding, so we're the overage. You never get to zero. You don't need to, but we're at that point where we can redirect that 0.3, put that on the table to fund the bond, to back the bond, pay the debt service, along with the 300,000 that we're demonstrating this year that we can produce, and get that station going. We get the funding in place, and then finish off the design, and then go vertical very quickly. When we bring back this tentative budget in a week, May 19th, we will have an ordinance that will be a modification of the ordinance we did in 2016, redirecting that fund from the more narrow PSPRS to a little bit broader in the public safety. And so this budget is contingent upon that action, and that's why we're looking for direction tonight to make sure that we're okay to plan for that action in a week. So, any questions on that portion?
But we will still be able to make a PSPRS payment that is required?
So
Which will be a lower amount.
What we have always done is we have always made the required PSPRS and then paid over and above. I think, Mayor, you were there when we started this, and everybody knows if you just make the minimum payment on your credit card, you get nowhere. Okay, so that's why we put the $1 million down and then put the 0.3%. Well, now we're getting close, and the unfunded portion will fluctuate based on market conditions, based on staffing, based on salaries. There's so many things. You can't nail it down, and you don't want to be in a position where you're overpaying it. So that's why we've hit that mark where we can safely redirect that. We've taken advantage of of that. And the tier 3 has stepped in, and so it's not as urgent of a thing as it was back in the day. So it is, the time is right to do this. It's worked out well. And again, the 0.3% remains a commitment by the city of Globe dedicated to support public safety, which is so important. When people come up to Globe, they can expect the same level of emergency services, fire protection, police protection that they have in the valley. We will be second to none, but we need that. We do that. We support that through that 0.3%. So, Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, and since I was involved in those discussions back then, I think Vice Mayor Stapleton was to his council, for the city of Globe to take the lead, to make a decision to take fund balance $1 million and put it towards our unfunded liability was a tough decision, but it was a good decision. And then to institute the 0.3%, which nowadays gets us $900,000 a year, and to get us to a point that we have an option to utilize that money to pay for a station. When people think of bonding, they're going to think, oh, there go my taxes. They're going to go up. But this allows, with this option and this plan, your taxes will not go up. That 0.3 will help us to build that station that's much needed. And this will be built not only by our taxpayers, but people that visit our community that pay that 0.3% tax. So we have other cities that are struggling just to try and pay their unfunded liability. No, they aren't even near the 80% of payment to it. They're still struggling. Some have extended to 30 years. Some have taken out bonds. Some have done different things. But the city, when they did this decision 10 years ago, was the best thing they did. And it is looked at by other cities also that are struggling now.
I think, Tina, if I'm correct, this year alone, the work that we've done the past 10 years has saved us $300,000 this year?
Yeah, it was about $300,000 that the fire and PD retirement rates went down.
Yeah, so because of that. And like I say, so this allows us to pivot, do our bonding effort without having to increase any taxes whatsoever. And many people think of a bonding initiative that it must go to the vote of the people. But when you're bonding based on sales tax, that is not required. If we were to bond based on primary or secondary property tax, that would require a vote of the people. And but the difference is we are a small city. Our population base is about 7,300 people. And as you see, our property tax about $500,000 a year. But we are there are up to 34,000 people who either travel through or visit Globe every day, and they come to shop, they come to work, to do different activities, and the sales tax reflects that. By using a sales tax to fund the bond, about 73% of the money that we will be using for that will be from those visitors and travelers to the valley, to Globe from the valley. And the residents, through their sales tax, will only be paying about 27%. Those are the calculations we put in place. And this is a way to capture pass-through traffic to help make sure that we have a fire station. So when they have a medical emergency, when whatever the public safety need is, we can afford to go and offer them the quality services.
And when we talk about the bond, the 1.2 million, that's an annual payment. That's a 20-year plan.
That's a 20-year plan. On a $13 to $15 million station. We still have value engineering, but that's what we have been dedicated to put aside to plan for that.
Okay.
So the next bullet, the policy waiver and contingency fund. On the one-time funding that you saw the slide before, we're still doing some of the things that we need to do. We need to replace the fire chief's truck. We need to do some purchases. We have one-time costs that we need to cover. Again, normally in a normal year, our revenues meet our expenditures, and we don't spend every penny we have, and that those additional ongoing revenues that are unspent fall in to the next budget's contingency money of the one-time funds, we had $700,000 unspent, but that didn't make up for the million that we didn't collect. And so there was no money falling forward, or at least not nearly what there was. And to honor council's desire to have a $3 million contingency plan for a rainy day and still be able to continue to do what we need to do to keep the city going, to cover some of these costs, we have asked council to allow us to lower the council contingency, to waive the policy, which the policy is $3 million a year, that we waive that policy and go down to 2.5 million and for 1 year, so we can fund some of the one-time costs that you saw on the previous slide. And that will also require, we are going to bring forward action so council can vote directly on. It's your policy, you put it in place, and only you can take that policy and say, we're gonna set aside the requirement from 3 million to 2.5 million. So this budget is constructed based on that assumption, and I'm hoping that at the end of this presentation, council will indicate that they're also supportive of that change for the 1 year. Questions on that?
No.
No, we've discussed it several times now, and I think we're in agreement that we need to do something, but we wanna wait for the whole council to be present. Okay?
And this is where we're coming forward. When we come back and pass our tentative in a week, that will pull the trigger on both those, the redirect of the 0.3 and the waiver of the policy.
And I think so the public understands that when Tina talked earlier, we saw a revenue loss because of the flooding, about $1 million. But because of adjustments and things that the staff has done, you decreased that to $500,000. So that's what you're asking for. And we're not looking at the 1 million is what we're looking at, the 500,000 to make up in the budget.
Right. Alls we need to pull, you don't need to cover that full million, because we did have some money fall back in that was unspent. But still, this allows us, it's been, Linda and Tina have been working on this budget starting from the beginning, and they're checking boxes and bringing things together. And every cycle of coming to council, coming to the work group, they get it closer and closer and include the needs of the city, the needs of council, the needs for the floods, the needs for growing forward, and we stitched together a pretty comprehensive budget that kind of hits all the needs. It doesn't hit everything like we'd like it to hit, but it makes the changes that we need to change to get us through this year, and these are those assumptions that are going to make this work with the tentative. So, Linda, did you want to talk about staff retention?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, as you know, in all of your strategic action planning sessions, staff retention has always been a council priority, how we can minimize that, because of course, as we all know, when we do have turnover, that comes with a hard cost. That's not just less productivity, but we can assign hard dollars to what that costs. And AJ Castaneda actually has done fantastic reports, and I'm sure you all have seen that has put a hard number on that as far as ED goes, and that can translate well across other departments. So when we sat down with our directors this year in our directors retreat and shared what keeps us up at night, what do we hope for, what do we need, what can we not do without people, of course, because we can't do what we need to do without proper staff. And so right now I'd like to invite Ann Glow, our Public Works Director, to the podium to talk about what Public Works has done to minimize the turnover in his department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As mentioned prior to this, as you know, staffing's always been, once again, we always, I know that PD and fire compete with people in the valley and outside area and other agencies, Public Works deals with some of the locals, but most importantly, the mines. You know, there's a certain standard really that we want to follow, but unfortunately, you know, there's things that we can't compete with. So we've been faced with multiple levels of staffing issues in the prior years, most importantly in this past year. Even when we had our flooding event, I spoke with John Trujillo earlier, the night of the flood, we were actually down 15 positions. You know, so that was almost basically half of our staffing, you know. So for, once again, all the volunteers and everything really came forward, and all the intergovernmental agreements and work that we did basically helped our department and throughout the city. So most importantly, with this discussion, one of the things that we were going back to the table and trying to find an alternate programs or additional training, or what could we bring more to, you know, for retention, and actually bringing other people. Sometimes with some of these positions, our fleet position was open for almost a full year, you know, prior to James Green coming on board. We've had actively at least 10 positions open throughout the year. You know, we hit that the highest point, the 15, but actively we had at least 10 just revolving. You know, we gain some, we lose some. Currently, we're almost at full staff in what the numbers that we would require. And what we had to do, and Chief Walters kind of set this prior years ago, and I kind of followed that suit, spoke with Linda and Paul, and we discussed this. It's like, well, we're going to have to look to possibly bring our salary range up, because a lot of the things was not very attractive and then also we were losing a lot of staffing, qualified staff, and, you know, the people that actually truly wanted to stay, but we weren't really competitive in our salaries and wages, you know. So when we got together, we kind of did a number there. So then we started looking at, I got with my staff and understanding that at some point, we're actively currently holding 10 positions open. So there were salary savings, yes, but for, you know, what are we sacrificing? You know, years ago, we can offset a lot of the staffing issues with inmate crews. Well, we've lost those. You know, we've discussed some of this prior, where we had up to 24. Today we had 2, you know, and it's really limited. And with our ADOT meeting that we had yesterday, it goes across the board. So what we did is actually started looking at it, and spoke with Paul, Linda, finance department, said, what could we do the immediate? And overall, after many discussions, we looked at actually taking 5 positions throughout our departments: water, wastewater, really not what wastewater, we're limited there, but our street department and our water department. So eliminate some positions, and one even in fleet was basically a loop tech. So we're actually gain some there. So by doing that, we actually increased the salary range that was more competitive. And since then, we've actively been able to keep employees. You know, so that 5 active employees, you know, we're close to, other than one position, we had a new hire yesterday. So we currently only have 1 position open. And that's good to have, because we're starting that training program and coming up. We have a good problem to have. We're also even able to recruit. So working with the managers, it's been, to this point, I feel it's been successful. Of course, I'm always an operational person. I'm always going to cringe for when I'm looking at positions not held. But when we have 10 active open positions, if I can hold those 5 and retain those 5 and start doing the training that we've always wanted to do, it's definitely going to be worth it. And we're seeing success in that area. I just think it's important, you know, sometimes too, it feels like we're taking a step back, but actually for the retention part of it, that's really what we want. And that's our goal. And like I said, I wanted to share that with all of you, because at this point we've actually been successful. And then also in the recruitment part, when we were doing applications, we were probably getting, prior to this adjustment, we were probably getting maybe 3 applicants for maintenance positions. Well, we actually had a good problem to have, where we had multiple applicants. We're getting up to 20 to 30 applicants. And even looking to recruit some locals where they say, hey, you know what, I want to come work for the city. So that's a good problem to have. Any questions?
Okay, so what are you looking for, bottom line? 5 more positions, or
Well, so what we have built into the budget is for Public Works, we are going with what we have now. We are funding all the current positions, at the current rate. And given the mechanics of everything going on.
So basically, Public Works will stay the same for right now.
Public Works will be funded at the same rate with the same amount of bodies until we can, as we go through. But for this budget cycle, that's what we're looking at.
That's good.
Yeah, and Mayor and Council, I did want to put an emphasis, one of the things we're focused on with these, with once we fill all our positions, through our ad hoc meeting, actually meeting with Lynn and Paul, we just signed up with our OSHA, that PIP performance program. So one of our focuses, one of my main focuses was training for staff with the retention. So that's gonna be our goal, is just magnify that in the next year, just like when Vince mentioned earlier about inspections, it's part of that program. So we're gonna put a big emphasis on our training, and that's all within our normal budget.
And I will tell you, your crew works good and works hard. They work out in that heat the other day. They did a hell of a good job, so I mean, it's good to know we have workers like that.
Yes, thank you. And in the presentation tonight with LTAP as well, that's another resource that we've utilized in the past, and they're actually coming forward and bringing it where we talk about equipment training, traffic control training, such as yesterday in the situation on Highway 60, so. Okay.
John, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And Linda, next is?
Five-year forecast.
Yep, looks like Chief Robinson is approaching the.
Mr. Mayor, council members, just as we've mentioned in the ad hoc budget committee meetings, while the fire department hasn't faced a lot of the challenges that the police department have, we have seen a significant volume of turnover, and have continued and anticipate continuing to see that. As we have staff that are currently active on hiring lists or have recently left for other employment. Just to kind of highlight the position we're in a little bit, and it, again, it's not the volume of what the police department has faced, but those employees that we have lost range from a captain of 12 years down to an individual that lasted a few months, that felt that they needed to seek other employment just because of the challenges associated with pay and making sure that they're looking at their family, looking out for their family. There's a few, part of what has led to that, the reduced impact that maybe the fire department sees has been the volume of positions available out there. A lot of times, in the past, when I first came to this job, you'd see advertisements for valley agencies that, they'd have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications for 4 or 5 positions. With retirements, with attrition that's gone on now, and with part of what we're seeing in the workforce in terms of people not staying for a full career, with those changes, we're seeing a significant number of openings. We're seeing, with the growth of the East Valley, Chief Walters, I think, mentioned this on the PD side, fire's facing the same thing. These agencies are opening new stations. You actually have a brand new municipality in the state that ultimately down the road, as they seek to increase their fire protection, is going to be looking for qualified people to fill those positions. It's no different. We have individuals right now that are on high on an active hiring list for Superstition Fire. We have another one that's actually looking to go. He's an extremely talented, extremely knowledgeable educator in terms of emergency medical services, and you know, is high on the recruitment list for a university in Los Angeles to teach paramedicine to individuals that are involved in the space program. I mean, there's a number of different things out there that, you know, we have a talented group, you know, that our goal is to try and hang on to these individuals, because, you know, they do bring an extremely high value to our organization. With that, I know there's some things that are on the agenda to discuss in terms of what we can do to work to retain individuals, and you know, any efforts we can make to do that, you know, are only benefit us. You know, when you start talking about, especially a qualified paramedic, you know, you have somewhere, depending on the program, 1,200 to 1,500 hours of schooling, of time that it takes to get the certification. If you pass, then on top of that, you have the years of experience that go along with that, you know, that bring those individuals up to a point where they are effective, where they are, you know, they're making decisions that impact people's lives on a daily basis. And it's, you know, it's important that we have those qualified people, that we have people that are competent, that are strong, and that we hang on to those people, because those are the people we're actually looking at to become leaders within the organization. And if we're, you know, if we're not retaining those individuals, if we're not holding on to those individuals, you know, what does our leadership look like going into the future? And that's one thing that's, you know, that really looking at it, that's one thing both Chief Walters and I have in common is, you know, looking at organizations, where are we going to find our leadership for the future, especially at that company officer, that captain level. You know, those are the individuals that are with that crew daily. They're out in the field with patients every day. You know, they're the ones that are making those initial decisions on a fire ground that are going to impact how that scene goes. Whether it's successful, you know, whether we're able to be effective in what we're doing. So as we go forward, you know, looking at that, those items that are presented in terms of retention, you know, we've made a lot of strides in looking at some of the specialized things and how we reward people for having some specialized certifications. You know, what we need to be looking at is how we keep them for the long term. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, one of the things that we're set to do for the fire department, we know that where the market is, and we know what the competition out there. We passed out a list of since 2018, the separations from fire, and you can see about half are retirement, but half are people going to a fire district or doing something else. That is a concern for us. One of the things we can do, the city can do right now, both fire and police have a step system. A step system is different than what we call a hard step. Right now, we call it a modified, a soft step. Really, it's a merit system. And we put 2.5%, and we've done that, and we're doing that this year. Everyone in the city will be eligible for that 2.5% raise. But what we're going to do starting this year for fire department, and this is something that they have asked, and I think it's the right time to do this, because it makes us at least competitive in the structure of the pay scheme, or the pay methodology in fire, so we can be competitive, is to go to an all or nothing. You do an evaluation, and if you meet expectations, you get the money, and if there's a problem. Gary, do you want to explain a little bit how a hard step in fire works?
Right. So in essence, you know, most of your agencies out there have a pay structure that they take a step system, and basically, in essence, what it's doing is you're starting at point A, you know, And whether it's a 7-year step, a 10-year step, you know, they have a step system. Annually, upon your evaluation, if your evaluation is, you know, if your evaluation meets the requirements, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're doing your job, you know, you're eligible for your next step in the system. You know, at your 7th year, your 10th year, however many steps are built into that system, you know, you top out in that job classification. And then there's steps for the other job classifications. In our case, firefighter, engineer would fall under the firefighter one, but with a additional amount associated with that because of the responsibilities that they hold. You have a step matrix for a captain, a step matrix for a battalion chief, and those have a range that starts at A, ends at C, D, E, whatever it is. But you know, you have a clear understanding. The firefighter or the individual has a clear understanding. I start here. In 5, 7, 10 years, I'm here. You know, as long as I'm doing my job. Versus a system that, you know, is a range of percentages based on your evaluation.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is something that we will begin to do. We've done this before, but we'll have a letter, and we'll do it when people get either promotion or get hired. But starting this cycle, we will do it for everyone in fire and give them, this is where you're at, and this is where you will be if you do it, as we know you will do your job. And everybody has been wonderful about that. But they can look and see, if I stay here 3 years, I know how much I'll make. If I stay here 5 years, I know how much I'll make. That in itself gives a surety, gives confidence to our staff, our firefighters, that they know where they'll be when they're looking around and wondering. And like I say, we can't probably match a lot of what's going on, but at least we can give them definitive answers as to where they'd be if they stay with the city of Globe. Comments, Mayor, I know.
But in the process, you're not, it sounds like you're still going back to a merit base.
No, well, no, we're using the merit money, and we're converting that merit money from merit to step. Merit meaning it's a 2.5. If you get 40 points, 37 points, it'd be a 2.25. This is a true step. It's that merit. There's no additional funding, and we're going to look at what we can do for funding once we do our 5-year plan. Because if you do the problem with a hard step, you're making a commitment. This council adopts a hard step, and you're making a commitment that in 5 years they're going to be making X amount of money. And if everybody meets that, which we hope they do, we got to make sure we can budget for that. Now, we've already looked at and have consistently done a 2.5% merit. Now for fire department, we're converting that merit to a 2.5% hard step. And so based on the structure and the methodology that other departments use to do their evaluations, to do how they manage their staff. So it is not, I mean, in my sense of the word, I do not see it as a merit raise. It is the way that fire is able to, fire is different, public safety is different, and they know what's right and what's wrong, and they know what they need to do to perform.
I just think we need to strongly look at that and make sure that we're doing it the right way. You know, you look at other departments, and I'm talking fire, you know, we have 18 personnel here. You lose one person, that's detrimental to that department. So what firefighters, and I've been in the careers, you look at where you're at. If you can retain that firefighter for 5 years and hopefully into the 10 year, that's what you're looking at. But if you look at a step raise, they know that they're going to get this, but you keep referring back if they're doing their duty.
Well,
that should be, you're still saying it's still merit based. I think there should be a hard step raise or a step raise that they can see where they're going to be in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, one of the things we found is the evaluation process, I think, still holds value. An individual needs to have clear expectations of what they're doing. And, you know, there needs to be something associated with it, and this is a discussion that we've had a lot of times, is, you know, if they're failing to complete their job, you know, there has to be consequences associated with that. You know, there has to be counseling by the supervisor, there has to be, you know, there has to be guidance, and one of the things that, you know, that we would commit to in this is our supervisors and our captains in particular are gonna have to understand that, you know, that throughout that year, they're going to have to be, you know, watching this. And if there's a portion where, you know, where they may need to have an individual on their crew, or that supervisor may need, may need to be counseled, coached on how they do it. Ultimately, at the end of the year, hopefully, you know, they've met that threshold. You know, like Paul said, it's an all or nothing. If you have an underperforming individual that's continued to underperform, you know, over with counseling, with, you know, with working with that individual, coaching, you know, there needs to be something associated with that, and that's where I have less concern with having an all or nothing framework in there, because, you know, those individuals, you know, they still do have a job to perform. They still need to meet expectations, and having that in there is an incentive for them to do it. It's just, at this point, it's not well, you didn't score high enough, so you're only going to get a 1.5%. It's, they either make it, they achieve what they need to achieve, and they get their 2.5%, or they need to figure out how are they going to start to meet expectations that are set. And that's where, you know, that's where we've had the discussions. You know, we've gone back and forth on the hard step portion of that a lot, you know, and I think it's, you know, I think that's an important step in the right direction. You know, as financially as the city improves, bringing them closer into market range, and bringing those steps into a market range that's competitive is going to be the next critical portion of that. You know, because it only becomes more and more challenging, and as we, you know, as time goes on, you know, we fall further behind, and it becomes that much more of a challenge to try and retain if we're not keeping up with that.
Oh, go ahead.
Question, how many firefighters do you have now?
I have a total of 19 full-time staff. That's with the fire marshal, though.
With what?
With the fire marshal.
Okay.
I have 18 operational personnel. 15 of those are assigned to shift.
Okay.
So I have 3 5-man shifts. Again, as was mentioned, you know, I'm down one at the moment. You know, every time we lose somebody, it becomes, you know, it becomes challenging to fill shifts.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, go ahead, Miranda.
Comments on this concept. In the eastern states, they don't have the, I lost the term, the concept of a right-to-work state. If you are a firefighter back east, you stay a firefighter. If you want to become a paramedic, you can't be added to that staff. You're either a paramedic or a firefighter or an engineer, and that's static. You come to the West, where we're always shorthanded, and the concept of a right-to-work state means exactly what you're talking about. I want to be that firefighter who goes out and gets the education to be a paramedic. Great, you're certified. We'll fit you into our scheme of schedule. Or an engineer. You can do that too, great. Go get the education qualification and we'll rate you accordingly. Opportunity is what we have in the West, in the Western states with this concept. And that fits right into what we were thinking about doing. I ran up against that a few years ago when I went to some classes in Emmitsburg. And the instructors there were, oh my God, no, you could never be a paramedic if you're already a firefighter. You don't even get the transfer. You got to get the education and certifications, and then you become that paramedic, and you'll never go back to running on a truck as a firefighter. You don't have that choice. We do here, because we're always shorthanded. We always need more. And several years ago, I was asked about, changing the subject quickly, about where we're at here in Globe for our future. Our future is already here. We are facing an economic wave that's about to happen. A certain copper company put out their position list, version number 2 this week. And guess what? All those people in both our public safety areas, including Public Works, are going to look at that list. And what do we have in place to keep them here? What do we have right now? Well, we have a chance at a budget to give opportunity to these people to stay. And so we've got to be in that mix as much as this economy is about to explode. We've got to be in there. And if we want to show leadership, it's not a matter of throwing money. It is a matter of showing, stick with us. We'll show you opportunity that you can go after and have a good feel for in a couple of years after you qualify in other areas where we can hold you and you'll want to stay. And I've had people tell me I'd rather work for the city of Globe than other entities, even though the pay is better. You may not have a sense of security, but the economy is golden, it's here, but we now have to fight for our employees and retain them. And that means we have to, once again, look at our budget and see what we can do to help them along to retain what they have. We have good employees, we always say that. They're hardworking. We got to find a way to keep them. Because sure as anything, these other entities of the economy will just snap them up and take them away. I'm not talking about the Maricopa County or Pinal County of the world. I'm talking about right here in Globe, Miami and Superior. And how do we retain them? Because they don't have to stay. The incentives are there, out there now. So we need to be part of that mix and part of controlling that drift away from the services that we want to provide. So here we are.
And Mr. Mayor, and to the council, to your point though, I may not be describing this the way that you've heard it described, but I want to be crystal clear. In communication with the fire department, they have requested a hard step program. I'm saying yes to what they are requesting.
Yeah, but you're not gonna be here for in 2 years. Year and a half. Can we continue doing that?
Oh, so the step is not the problem. The amount of the step is why we're doing the 5-year forecast.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we're converting, Mayor, and it is no longer merit. It is what they want it to be, which is what Gary described, what the department has asked for a number of years, and that is what's putting in place. There's nothing. They will tell us how they're going to implement this, and that is what we will do with the fire department. Does that give you confidence that what we're doing is a true step?
No, I agree with it, and I think it's a good step in the right direction. And again, it's all about, can we afford it? And the other question is, can we not afford it? You know,
Exactly.
we are, you know, we're limited in what we have, and what you do in public safety as fire and police is hard to find. People aren't going after the professions anymore, and it's getting harder for rural communities to compete with everybody else. I mean, we're competing with the Florences, the Apache Junctions.
Right.
We're competing with these eastern communities, and that's what we need to look at. And I don't know, you know, how do we afford it? How do we pay for it? But I think we need to take a good look at it and how can we make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, and what?
Mayor, Paul, may I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a great segue into that. You did mention the 5-year forecast, and this is exactly why we are looking at that 5-year forecast, looking at revenues, looking at how we can either bring in more revenue, you know, of course, through business attraction, retention, and expansion, housing, annexations, and of course, taking a look at how that impacts our bottom line. And so at this time, can I please invite Chief Walters down to talk a little bit more about that? Because just so I think we're all getting all on that same page that the STEP program, program is the way that we would like to go. We just have to make sure that it makes fiscal fiscal sense for the city, because we do want to manage expectations. We're never gonna be able to compete with Scottsdale or Phoenix, but what can we do to be competitive? And not every community has a 5% step. There are some that have a 3.38 and on up. So that's what we're doing, is taking this time to not only recover from the flood, but to better position ourselves for retention within our key departments.
Great.
So Dale, on staff retention, police department.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council. I've heard my name taken in vain many times tonight. So I would tell you that when we had our director's retreat, when we started talking about the budget, I felt horrible because the question posed to us is what keeps you up at night? And for me, it's fairly simple. I've talked about it for a number of years. I dreamt about it when I was on vacation in Key West, which is kind of shocking. And the simple fact of the matter is we're just at a point with the police department. If you don't do something, you're not going to have a police department in 5 years. I'm looking at the numbers, and we're just getting killed. So in understanding that, the problem is not that it's recruitment, but it's really retention. Since March of 2018, we've lost 38 sworn police officers from the police department. So we've replaced the police department almost twice. Some of that started before I got here. Out of that, 21 of those people were hired by us, trained by us, developed by us, and then they went to another agency. And then a couple people retired, a couple people had to take medicals. I might have terminated a couple of people. But the vast majority of the people that left us because they went to other agencies. And I would tell you, and I've talked about this at great lengths in the past, part of the problem is it's nationally, the sentiment towards law enforcement changed in 2020. COVID didn't help, and it's still kind of going on today with the attacks on some of the federal agencies and stuff like that. And so what has happened over the last 6-8 years, and it's been going on for a while, the hiring pool for law enforcement has shrunk. And so we're in direct competition with each other trying to hire. And some of the bigger agencies that are more well-funded have raised their pay considerably. Historically, that didn't impact Globe so bad. And the reason why is because the Valley was a far off, distant place. Well, over the last 20 years, it's gotten a lot closer to us. Mayor, when you started with the fire department, I'm quite sure that the Valley was about 80, 85 miles away. There was a big chunk of desert in between Globe and there. And that's exactly why Safford is having the success that it's having, is because it's far enough away and it has a big enough homegrown population that they're kind of self-sustaining. Well, we don't have that. And over the last 20 years, we've watched the Valley grow closer to us. And the problem is the agencies that kind of buffered us, whether it was Pinal County, Florence, or Apache Junction, now they're competing directly with the Valley because they have to, because they can't retain or hire people. And so now we're losing people directly to them, along with Chandler PD, Pinal County, and so on. In addition to that, you had the Queen Creek created its own police department. They were brilliant on what they did with their economic development, really planned it out nice. And when they started the police department, their goal was to pay better than anybody else in the state because they wanted to recruit laterals, and they were very successful. I think they're still in the top 3 or 5. Well, right on the heels of that, now you have Santan Valley that's going to do the same. And the reality of it is about 40 to 60% of our staff live in Santan Valley. It's going to be an easy transition for them to move over to that. So how do we retain them? Well, a couple things. What we've been seeing is when these officers leave us, Roman Hernandez is a great example. Hometown kid, grew up here, went to school here, his wife's family's here. He was set here. He was with me for 7 years. We made him a sergeant year 5. He was doing a great job, and he ended up going down to Chandler. Day 1, he took a demotion, went back to officer, and made $40,000 more a year. part of that has to do with their base pay. And we're not Chandler, we're never gonna be able to compete with them. But some of the conversations that you had earlier, as far as like, whether you call it a STEP program or a merit program or whatever the case may be, that made the big difference. Because what they're doing is when they hire them, they place them at the year they would be if they started with Chandler. So if they had 6 years on, now they're at step 6. And so not only is their baseline higher than ours, but they're placing these guys where they should be. I have officers right now that have 19 years on and they're a step 3 for us because we don't. And granted, I'm from the belief that not all things are equal. I've worked with people that, 2 different people that had 20 years. You had 20 years of 20 of the same year in one person, and then you had 20 years of growth in another person. So you can't really treat them the same. So we've looked at it very conservatively since I've been there. But the reality of it is the fact that right now we're losing everybody between 3 and 4 years on average. There's a couple of outliers that stayed 7, 9, 11 years. But everybody else, if they make it past their first year probation, they're good for about 3 years. We might get 4 out of them. So we don't have an opportunity to develop them into that next level supervisor. So currently today, right now, I have 2 lieutenants that are both could retire tomorrow. They could both leave tomorrow. One of them has to leave because he's in the drop. He's already extended in the drop in about 20 months. So when he leaves, I've got people to replace lieutenants. I have 2 senior supervisors that if they test and want it, they'd have a good shot at getting those positions. The problem is that I got nobody back behind them to replace them. Because to create a succession plan, you have to have retention. And I can go on for hours about the importance of retention, the historical information. We had a tragic incident a few years ago, and the 3 officers that knew the individual that was involved, that were on duty that day, nobody knew the individual involved. Out of everybody in the police department, there were the only 3 that didn't know him because they were all brand new and they were working graves, and it went south. If they would have had the background with that individual that everybody else had, it probably would have went a lot differently. The fact that they don't know the community or some of the business leaders. I spend a lot of time in this city working within the community and getting my people out there, but it's like there's new faces constantly. And so it takes time. And then the amount of money that we spend on hiring, training, developing, clothing, equipping, and stuff. And then within 3 years, we start all over again. So we got to go back through the hiring process. AJ, it was mentioned earlier, did a phenomenal thing. We did a report on it for you, for all of you. I think you probably have it. We're losing between $6 and $8 million because we can't retain anybody. If that translated into salaries, we probably would have retained the majority of those people. So that's the reality that we're in. We're never going to be Scottsdale. We're never going to be Chandler, but we better dang well be Florence, and we better start competing with them. And we can't do it right now, because I would tell you right now, and Paul knows this, I'm against the 2.5%, because it feels like you're going backwards. You take a 10-year STEP program and you turn it into a 20-year thing if you do 2.5%. And that's the argument that Paul's going to get and Linda's going to get from the troops out there when we have those discussions. The problem is what the troops don't understand is they have to do some projections, and it's going to take time to develop that. And the nice thing about it is the city is more than willing to look at that on what we can do, because it's a lot of money, because having a police department and a fire department is expensive. And the sad part about it, it's getting more expensive every day. And so they're going to have to be able to project out where they can be and where that sweet spot is and what we can do as we go. But it's going to take time to develop that. However, for this year, to try to stop some of the hemorrhaging from Mike, is like right now, I have 1 opening. And we have 1 guy that is in the process. He's the only person that's applied for a while. The last 2 testings that we had were bomb. The first one, 11 people put in. We called them, talked to them. They were coming. 2 days later, nobody showed. The next one we had a month later, 13 people came in or put in. We called all of them. They were all going to show up. 2 people showed. Both of them failed the physical and the written miserably. So we're just not getting the applicants in. The good news is I had a meeting last week or the week before. We're going to kick the academy off in January at the college. And so we're working to that. And I got a commitment from the college that even if we have only one candidate, it's going through. So we're trying to get that going, but that's not going to keep them here, because right down the road, and they're actively being recruited by the agencies. Right now, we lost a stellar officer, great guy, great family guy, great cop, went to Chandler. Chandler pays bounties if he can get people recruited. I've lost 2 more to Chandler. I mean, that's what the agencies are doing, and that's what we're up against. And Roman didn't want to go, and it's not just the money. We've had this discussion, but right now, money's all we got, and that's what we have to go over. Housing's a big deal. Why would I pay $400,000 for a 100-year-old house up here when I could take my family to a brand new neighborhood, brand new school, brand new parks, and buy it down there? And for all of my people that are transporting, driving back and forth and stuff, it's a no-brainer. You gain 3 hours of your life back every day if you're down there. So I get it. So right now we have 1 opening. We've got somebody on the hook. I've got 1 person on long-time light duty, 1 person go out on military, and I've got at least 3 people that are actively testing for other agencies right now. And they're all 3 good people, and they will get picked up. It takes us a year, if I've got to hire a brand new recruit, to get him through the testing process, to get him through the academy, and to get him through FTO before they are a minimally qualified officer to be on the road. Because there's no buffer for us, because we're understaffed to begin with. We're at minimum staffing when we're full. So every time someone takes vacation, works a special detail, or is not working the regular shift, we have to bring somebody in on overtime. So not only are they underpaid, they're really getting overworked right now, and I'm wearing them out. I had one person left us, not because of money, but because of workload, and went to another agency. So that's what we're up against. And we've laid it all out. And look, I've worked great with this council. I've worked great with city management over the last 8 years. And we've done some stuff to try to improve all of this. But if you're going to have longevity in this, you're going to have to start forecasting, and we're going to have to start really building to that a sustainable, ongoing budget, because it's not going to get cheaper. It's going to get worse. Whether it's bullets, gas, uniforms, cost of training, vehicles, it doesn't matter. It's all going up. And it's went up dramatically just since I've been here. Questions?
Question on your laterals, and what they're doing is when they lateral, they're not putting them at a low step position, they're putting in a position on a step raise where they should be.
For their experience level. Yeah.
And we don't do that at this point.
We don't. We try to adjust, because you don't know what you're getting, Mayor. You know, we do backgrounds, but you don't know what you're really getting, and until they're here. Sometimes we do, because we've got some prior knowledge or whatever, but realistically, and the problem is it's like right now, like I look at this stuff all the time. So I look at the officers that I have, and I look at where they're at, and I look at how many years they have on, and clearly they're not even placed. The ones I have now aren't even placed where they should be, based off of a true step program. And I don't know how to fix that. And whether it's a merit, it's a hard step, or how we're going to fix it, it's going to take all of us working together, identifying the pathway on what the best fix for all this is. We're not going to fix it tonight. We have some ideas and stuff, but moving forward, it's going to take some effort to do it. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I really meant to mention, because I felt horrible about this, but I felt it was imperative that I bring it up in the retreat that we did, just for the simple fact is, on the heels of the most devastating natural disaster in the community's history. But the reality of it is, it'd even be worse if we lose our first responders. Right. And it's horrible timing, but I think Linda and Paul have done a phenomenal job in trying to bridge the gap. It's not fixing it, but it's trying to bridge the gap and stop the bleeding, and then start the process to look at a long-term solution. Because even after I'm gone, this is something that small agencies are going to have to contend with throughout. All the rural communities should be well aware and should be actively talking about this at the League of Cities and everywhere else. The competition in the valley and the bigger agencies are going to shut down law enforcement in these rural communities. and the quality of law enforcement that they have. If something doesn't happen, either help from the state or some other methodology to try to fund them so they're somewhat competitive with the larger agencies, or you'll continue to bleed personnel there.
So Mr. Mayor, the members of council, we also have a sheet that we passed out that has the police department separations since January of 2018, as we did for the fire department. You will see fire department, about half of them are retirements. That shows that we need to keep refilling and people coming back. With PD, you see the average number of years, and that's the best data to look at, that they how long they stayed. 3 to 4 years is kind of the most common too, but some people were in and out pretty quick. I think in there's only one person who made it 11 years. And it's for the variety of reasons. Whenever you see a lateral on the right, that means that they took a position. They went as a sworn here to a sworn in another organization. They're in a career. They have families. They have to be able to pay their bills, and they need to make these choices. We offer a lot here in Globe, but again, we struggle with the funding just for the nature of it's not just what we can't do, but what the money they're throwing at it in the valley. It is a bidding war, and the cities in the valley have a lot more money to throw at people and do that, which has put us in this predicament. Again, we have to be careful what we plan for. Right now, we're recovering from the flood. We still have the match situations. We're going to do our 5-year forecast to see where our revenues and see what we can commit to. But what this budget does contain is a $4 an hour increase for every shift worker in PD right now. This is sworn shift. And so those people will when the budget is passed, will get that $4 bump. It'll be a bigger percentage for people making less, a smaller percentage for those, because it's a hard number rather than a percentage. We'll have to do some tweaking on some compression issues, but I think the cost of that is about just shy of $300,000 to do that. Tina, do you have that number? And
it was $260,064, I believe, or $260,264.
50 or 60? 250 or
260,000.
60?
Yes, not 300. But that is.
That was the difference between the normal, like if they had just participated in the 2.5% versus going to this bump.
And so that is in the budget that we're presenting tonight. That has been built in to make that cover. I think we don't have the ability to wait until we can run numbers and see the projections. We're not going to have. We'll have so many spots to fill in PD. We need to do something now to stop the flow out of the department and give us a chance to fine tune the STEP program, fine tune the how much we can afford. So again, there's two things. There's the program, the way that we deliver the money, and then there's the actual amount of the money that we'll be delivering. Now with PD, this will be a one-time bump, and then we'll figure out how that carries forward, and there's more details to work out. But at least that will make a difference, we believe. Dale, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's our best chance right now to initially stop the hemorrhaging with the intention of we stay active on this topic and start implementing other stuff as quickly as we can.
And we will be looking at, because the police agencies that we're competing with is not the market we're in, but the market that is cherry picking our people. They are in a PD STEP program, and we will have to match that. But I don't have more details than that. as something that we just haven't had time to sit down and figure out the implementation. We have a little bit of time. This all goes into effect July 1 with the passage of the new budget.
Mr. Mayor, this is an item we need to take forward to the League of Cities and Towns, especially the rural cities and towns, and make our case to form a coalition to get up to the legislature. And I hate to send you down to the legislature again, Mr. Mayor, but this one's vital. We are in competition. We're here, and the rest of the agencies in the three largest counties are up here. We can't match that. We need help. And I'll say it, that this is the time to work together as a coalition. This is the time to just push it through to the legislature and bring them to a common sense moment. If you want us to continue providing services from a public safety aspect, you're gonna have to help us. You expect 24/7 delivery of services regardless of the location in a county, from here to Roosevelt, just as an example, then you're gonna have to help us deliver, because we're up against that wall now, which will disappear quickly. And I'm sorry we have to fight for this at the legislative level as a group of cities and towns, but that service is expected. They want the same quality and level of service if an accident occurs that they see in the valley. They want it. And so it's time to tell those entities, I'm soft pedaling, tell those entities, we're the asset in the middle of nowhere. You need to help us. It's that time. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
So Mr. Mayor, members of council, that is the plan that we will be bringing back with the tentative budget, with the changes that we've talked about, and with the commitment that before December, we will put together and have that 5-year strategic forecast and figure out where we're going. Again, with PD, when we do this, we'll be able to say, here is your number, and here is what we can tell you will be the numbers going forward. Again, that's a surety, helps us to, at least the Chief Walters can say, you know, if you say this is where you'll be, and as of now, and if it changes, hopefully it will, hopefully we can afford to do more, we can indicate that also. So.
I know Chief Robinson and I and John are committed to all this. I would tell you that I think Chief Robinson and I are kind of on the same mind as probably like to step. We would like to be heavily involved in the fully development of that process, because we're the ones going to have to sell it. Because there's good and bad in all the things that we do, and so I'd like to try to make sure that whatever we do fits well for the city and then each of the departments as we move forward.
So, any other questions on staff retention of the 5-year forecast?
I think you develop the plan and bring it to us.
Yep.
Okay, I'm all, you know, this is where I live. Okay? And I wanna make sure I'm safe and in a safe environment, that I've got services available. And I think the people who live in this community wanna see those types of services and stuff. If we can manage it, you know, I think we can do it, but we've gotta look at it, you know, give us a long-term, projections and the whole bit.
Yeah. Like Dale said, it's not a good time to have this problem, but it's never a good time to have this problem. But we're still early on. We are standing by 2.5% increase minimum for every city member, every employee, and then with this one-time bump for PD because of the necessity in the amount of turnover we have there. And other local communities are not doing this. We're doing everything we can. We're doing it at the level we can safely afford, and we will keep fighting to try to find ways to more, you know, to manage the budget and make this pencil out better.
Councilman Pasteur, just so from my standpoint, currently right now we're okay. You have have a professional police department. Yeah, we're struggling with stuff, but we're getting through. You have a professional fire department. You have great city staff along the way. And I think all the directors would say that we would like to keep them because they're value to us. And when we recruit people, we want them to come to us like they're going to spend, like all of you did. Mayor, you spent your entire career at Globe. We would like to see that again here. But to do that, we have to maintain the competitiveness moving forward. The idea of, well, we've always done it this way, this is how it is, that has to be a thing of the past. We have to stay forward focused, and I think this body and this team within city leadership are moving the ball in the direction that you all have wanted to go. So, thank you.
And from my point, I just, a part of this ad hoc committee, I just appreciate all the department heads and their input. It's not about putting a department against department. It's really about thinking of the whole city as a whole. And I appreciate Paul, Linda, to look at this 5-year forecast to give us some predictions so we can work towards hopefully affording this and protecting what we have.
Mayor, whatever we do, we need to do something, but we need to make sure that it's doable, that it's affordable, and that we focus all our efforts to make it work. It has to be a comprehensive plan to set goals and make them, and then every other decision has to be tied towards that financial plan that we're looking to put together. And we'll be working with Pat Walker, with our new audit person, Bill, with Danny and Susie, and Tina will be in there also, giving the reality check as she does so well.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Tina, anything left? I think that's the last slide. Anything left that we did not cover or should cover?
I think we're good.
Linda, anything that we missed that you needed to cover?
No, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and all of our directors.
So Mayor, the last portion of this presentation is council supportive of implementing the budget as we presented, and with bringing back the two items, the redirect of the .3 and the waiver of the policy as presented tonight.
I'm good.
Yes,
Good.
yes, proceed.
So I just want to make sure that everybody is supportive of that, and so we will come back in a week.
All right.
Sounds good. Okay, we're finally at consent agenda. So matters listed on the consent calendar considered to be routine will be acted by one motion, one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk prior to discussing consent agenda. The mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council or staff may also remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable $452,106.39. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration to approve the February 24th, 2026 meeting minutes. And consideration of the March 10th, 2026 meeting minutes. And item B is consideration to award contract number CS 20260122 to On-Track Garage Door Services to repair the garage doors at Public Works Fleet Building for the amount of $3,739.68. Funds from this project are budgeted in account 107251236 building maintenance. Anybody from the council, public, or staff wishing to remove any item for separate consideration?
Can you check the phone? Well, it wouldn't be the phone, but nope.
We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent calendar as read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. We have no new business. We have action item 5A, consideration of city council resolution number 1933 to grant approximately plus 486 square feet for public access easements on Gila County, Arizona accessor parcel number APN 20802 432A, and we have Travis presenting, but Eric, can you read resolution number 1933, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1933. Resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, accepting a public access easement from Hill Street School, LLC, on parcel number 208-02-432A to the City of Globe and authorizing the execution and recording of said resolution within the city limits of the City of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, pursuant to the applicable Arizona revised statutes. Are you pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This is one of those items under the Hill Street Apartments project that just needed to be cleaned up. The public infrastructure of the sidewalks, technically some pieces of it go within the private property. So we need to just make sure we get a public access easement for those variable portions. There's 3 portions throughout that parcel that we need to get the public easement for. And so we're just crossing our T's and dotting our I's in this matter for that project. So just asking to accept the public access easement.
And that's the street behind the apartments, right?
It's along Hill Street and is that Monroe on the back? Maple.
Maple.
Yeah. And then I think there's a small section on.
Is it Devereaux?
Devereaux. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions, comments on?
Any questions from the colleagues or anything?
You got nothing from anybody? Quiet night.
Do a motion for it?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we approve agenda item 6A as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 6A, resolution number 1933 as read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
We have item B is consideration to award contract number CS 2026-0097 to Dogue Development LLC to construct new sidewalk and drainage upgrades along Jess Hayes and Hagen Roads for the amount not to exceed $3,336,805.52. Funds from this account are budgeted in account number 218052220, capital outlay street construction, activity code number 161008. Travis.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. This has been a long time coming. As you recall, back in fiscal year 24, the City of Globe had requested the Rural Transportation Advocacy Council on our behalf to ask for legislative funding during the state budget cycle of that year towards transportation projects. And with the City of Globe being part of the Central Arizona governments, there was a portion that the city was going after, and this project was the one that was requested and was essentially funded through the state budget in the fiscal year 2024 cycle. And so got the design done over the last course of the year and a half, and now we're finally at the point where we can start construction. And so we went through the bid system, went out to bid. May 1st, the bids were due, and Doge became the lowest and responsible bidder out of the ones that we received. And so we're ready to move forward with this and get going. One thing I want to point out is the funding that we do have left over minus from the design costs. We're right at that 3.3 million. And we do have a local match that is budgeted for the upcoming budget cycle of $158,000 from our excise tax. We'll probably also need to pull another $6,700 from the excise tax to kind of fill that gap as well. But we have the majority of the funding there available because of the result of the state appropriations we received. Happy to answer any questions.
Travis, I have a question. Just with the flooding we saw on Jess Hayes Road, was there any Is there any changes to the design of the drainage, or is it gonna go as designed?
There was one area near Oil Circle Road that we were looking into, but working with the property owner, I think we found a different solution than what we were planning on changing. I think we're keeping it as what was originally planned at the moment.
Okay.
It did not change how we were looking at the drainage though.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I would make a motion that we approve contract number CS 2026-097 as presented.
Second.
Motion is second for approval of item 6B is presented. Any further discussion? I have one question, Travis. When will the project start?
Well, we had to schedule a pre-schedule or pre-construction meeting. So we're hoping to get that in the next week or two. And then from there, it's really dependent on when they can get out here and start mobilizing.
Okay.
So I would suspect sometime in June is when we can start.
June?
Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Late agenda items, we have any? No, we have
Nothing on
none.
late agenda.
Second call to the public.
Nothing in the email,
Executive session?
nothing in, anything in, nothing in the phone.
Scheduling of meetings.
We do, just to let you know that, let's see, we have scheduled a special meeting on May 19th, to approve the tentative budget, that'll be a week from tonight. Mayor, it was our intention to do that at 6 o'clock unless council wants to do something differently. But I think just because it's tentative budget and important stuff going on, I would recommend we do an evening meeting. I think, Vice Mayor, are you working next Tuesday?
Yeah, so I mean, if you wanna go a little earlier, that's fine. I get off at 3 o'clock, so if you wanna go earlier, that's fine.
Mayor, do you wanna bump it up a little, or do you?
Wanna do 5, or do you wanna, just keep it
On
at
the
6?
19th?
The 19th, yeah.
A week from tonight.
Is that the only subject we have, the budget
The budget and the
discussion?
2 items that go with it, the 0.3% and the waiver of the 3 million.
Oh, yeah.
Be those 3.
I don't know. If we change it, it's probably better for the public because they,
Maintain the 6
yeah,
o'clock.
the same time and just
Yeah,
do it.
I think a nighttime meeting would be.
Okay.
I don't know, like I say, as far as I know, unless Travis, he's such a busy person, Travis, you have anything for? No good news from WIPA? No. So it'll probably just be those 3 items.
Okay.
6 o'clock, is that what you're saying?
So
Lydia?
6.
Okay.
If that's our,
Yeah,
if that's everybody's,
that works.
That's fine.
May 19th?
Yeah, a week from tonight.
A week from tonight,
That's
Tuesday
fine,
night.
yeah.
okay. We'll stick with that then. Any future agenda items? Oh,
Okay, good. Danny will be here.
cool.
So,
Future agenda items?
nothing unless council has anything.
No.
Nope. Okay. Motion to go into E-session?
Motion
Motion
made.
made.
And
Second.
Check.
Motion to second, go into E-section. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Mayor, when we return from E-session, there'll be no future action. We will simply go into adjournment. And a big thank you to Linda and Tina